Noon stream here in beautiful, balmy North Texas. Hold on, let me get everything started here. It's just a couple of seconds. Just 1 second here. All right, everybody, come on in, pull in. Pull up a chair in the chat. Pull up a chair in the chat room. Make yourself comfortable. I am Pugs Moran. This is High Noon, the High Noon stream. They'll tell stories about this one day. The High Noon stream comes to you every Monday through Friday, noon till whenever. And I say whenever because that's determined by when the news runs out. Today is we'll get into that in a second. That's what the show is about, however. It's about the day. Everything about today. I tell you all the things that happened in the history of today. We go through all the events. I give you some hot takes on the events that occurred throughout history on this very day. We celebrate some birthdays. We talk about the people who were born. My God, just from looking at the birthdays, if you want to ensure that your child grows up to be super famous, have them be born on January 31st. It's a big birthday day. And deaths, good day to be a celebrity. There's deaths are, birthdays, whoa, a lot of people born in died, not so many. So that's what we do. We do the history, we do the births, and then we do the deaths. And then after we've got a pretty firm understanding, that's the first part of the show. After we've got a pretty firm understanding of all the things that have occurred on this day, then we jump into the hot topics, the trends, the current events, the headlines, whatever it is that's making news on this very day, we cover it. It's a cheat sheet. That's really what the show is. It's a nice little cheat sheet for you. I try to lay out all of the things that you need to know so that you may go forth out into the world. Although, let's kid ourselves. Nobody's going forth out into the world today. I mean, I don't know where you are. I can tell that my friends in Dallas here, where we do the show here in North Texas from Dallas, my friends in Dallas, you ain't going anywhere. Hey, let's see what you can see out there. Look at this. This is a very rare occurrence for Dallas here. Look at that. That's like snow. That's snow and cold. All right, I can't get the camera around anymore. Oh, no, I broke the camera. No, I didn't. There we go. Hi, here we go. All right. Yeah, so we got snow. Woke up to some snow. And there's oh geez, now the camera's got to be a little bit fixed now. For my friends, what's this? Oh, that's the microphone. I was like, what's this? What's this in the screen? Nobody's going anywhere here in Dallas. It snowed. There's ice. There's ice everywhere. The roads are just skating rinks. There's no salt. They don't put salt down. And you know what? Honestly, it's just like, all right, everybody, we've got ice on the roads. Just take a time out for 24 hours. It'll be 75 degrees again tomorrow. And it will, and that's how we exist here. But for my friends in Chicago as well, holy cow. Well, first, I got to tell you, I'm a little bit disappointed in my Chicago friends who are, by the way, Chicago friends, what's your current temperature? Chicago friends are telling me, or at least from what I'm seeing, it's like 10 degrees in Chicago right now, but it's like minus 10 wind chill because there's like a wind coming around. There's a wind whipping. So what is wind chill? Wind chill is 10 degrees would be the air temperature. Okay. So that's just what it is. The standing still air is 10 degrees. But when you add a wind into that, and the wind hits that 10-degree air, it makes it colder. It makes it colder on you. So when they say like it's 10 degrees outside, but it's a minus 10 wind chill, that means it feels like it's minus 10. Your body is going to react like it's minus 10. So people are freaking out. The Wiener Circle, my favorite hot dog joint. I just saw a tweet from them. They closed for the day. Here we go. Here's an update from Chicago. Currently in Chicago, we've got is beautiful. Look at it. It's a balmy, mostly sunny 13 degrees, according to Ed. So Ed, I gotta ask, why are people? I mean, that's nothing. That's nothing. Why are people seemingly freaking out a little bit about it? Warmer by the lake, he points out. Don't worry about that. It's just warmer. That's not that cold for Chicago. That's schools are still open. Kids are still going to school. I don't understand why people are freaking out. Let's see, what does Ed say now? Ed says, yeah, no idea. I went to breakfast this morning, no problem. I mean, it's just cold. That's why we have the kinds of jackets in the Midwest. Jackets, coats, tundra equipment. It's why we have different kinds of like winter gear up there. You just put on a jacket that was made out of like 50 ducks and you just go walking down the street. You're fine. You're fine. You little scarf. But here, I totally get it in Dallas. I get what's going on. I'm not going to be critical. You don't have salt. You don't have any weight. You don't have enough of this bad weather. I should say, we don't have enough of this bad weather here to really justify snow plows and ice trucks and, entire crews of people whose job it is to make sure the ice melts. Like, that's a full-time job. It's like, you don't need that here. But schools are closed, all that stuff. Anyway, we'll get into it. And the wet weather, guess what? Weather is trending because apparently it's horse shit all over the country. Where's my guy, Jeff Ballard? Jeff Ballard out there in Iowa. I want him to check in. I know that Jeff is living in the middle of a cornfield in a teepee in Iowa made out of corn. It's supposed to be really cold in Iowa. It's supposed to be, you see it comes whipping off the plains and, it gets sucked into the warm water of Lake Michigan. The Great Lakes act as kind of like like the way the Gulf does, how it creates weather systems and all that. So whatever Jeff's got, Jeff Glenn is here. I asked for Jeff Ballard. I got Jeff Glenn. Jeff Glenn, where have you been? I haven't seen Jeff Glenn. I have not seen Jeff Glenn in the chat room in quite some time. Here we go. Got me a little bit of a cold. All right, let's get into it. Let's start what today is. Shall we? Why not? Oh, by the way, it's the last day of the month. The show exists on tips this month and for the next week or so anyway. We need your help. If you can donate in any way, drop a tip into the jar. We do 5 shows a week, Monday through Friday. And then we do the Pillow Talk show with myself and Parker at 9 p.m. If you want to drop a little something, a tip, treat me like a bartender. Just drop it. You can drop it in the Venmo. You can drop it in the Cash App. It would greatly be appreciated as we're at the end of the month and we're in trouble. But I'm just going to say that. We'll get past it. Let's see here. No, I don't want this story. All right, what do you say we get started? I say we get started on the show. Okay, here we go. It is high noon for the 31st day of January, the very last day of January. Isn't that something to celebrate? It is 31 days into the new year. That's right. There are 334 days remaining until the end of the year. I did it again. I'm looking at my rundown. I did it again. What did you do? That's my co-host, schizophrenic me. I when I did the date on today's show for today's rundown, I put 2022. I'm still doing that. 31 days in, I'm still putting 2022. Used to be on checks. Are you still signing 2022 on your checks? No, nobody has checks anymore, lady. I don't know what you're talking about. Nobody has checks. I do. Yeah, I know, because I'm always behind you at the grocery store. For some reason, I always get behind. I get in the line. The times that I don't do robot checkout, which I prefer, but most people prefer robot checkout too nowadays. So the lines for robot checkout is quite often longer than the lines for dealing with a human being, which, that's fine. And there's always like some lady with a check, not always, but sometimes it's like, I always wonder, hey, what are you doing? You still writing checks? They still print those? What does the bank charge you for checks these days? Are they like, all right, you can have a book of checks. That'll be $500. Is it like $500 now for a book of checks? Because only like 15 of you from coast to coast are still using them. On this day in history, 1606, talked about this the other day, the day that it occurred. On this day in 1606, the Gunpowder Plot. That's right. That was the attempt to blow up British Parliament by Guy Fawkes and all of his Gunpowder Plot conspirators. It was on this day in 1606 that Guy Fawkes and 4 of his fellow conspirators are hunged by they were hunged, and they were drawed, and they were quarteringed. Drawing. Okay, so you know what draw and quartering is? Do you know what that is? Ooh, man, they were brutal. Can we go back to the good old days? There were never good old days. There were just incredibly violent days that, nobody knew about or they only heard rumor of until they saw or had it happen to them because there wasn't, media and stuff. Drawing is when they slice you across your belly and they pull out your intestines and all your organs while you're alive. You're just like you're chained up, and then they draw you, and then they draw everything out, and you're like dying. Quartering is they cut off your arms and legs. Maybe head? I don't know. Not because he was hung. So he was hung. How did they do that? Was that like, did the drawing and quartering not kill him? And then they went, all right, string him up. Brutal. The good old days. There were no good old days. Certainly not in 1606. On this day in 1846, after the Milwaukee Bridge War, the United States towns of Juneautown and Kilburton Town, it's a stupid name. Kilbourne Town. Oh, it's Kilbourne Town. Juneautown and Kilbourne Town unify after having a war on a bridge. They went, this is stupid. This is a bridge. We're on this side. You're on that side of the bridge. Why don't we just make this bridge? And then it was a whole kumbaya moment. And they got together, these two towns, Juneautown and Kilburn Town. And they formed, ladies and gentlemen, Milwaukee. Welcome to the party, Milwaukee, on this day in 1846. Do I have any Milwaukee hot takes? Not really. I got nothing but love for Milwaukee. I love Milwaukee. You know, being a Chicagoan, Milwaukee is like our little brother that we root for. Like we want little brother to be well. Not like St. Louis. Nah, St. Louis is our bitch sister. She's like down there. We hate St. Louis. We Chicagoans. It's like St. Louis. Here, have all of our waste product. We reversed the flow of the rivers so that all the people in Chicago, their shit flowed down into St. Louis and into the Mississippi instead of into Lake Michigan because we wanted beaches. We wanted beaches and we didn't want to be swimming in our shit. So one of the great engineering miracles of our time was that we reversed the flow of the river, and now all the poop in Chicago goes down to St. Louis. Enjoy that, you bitch. We hate St. Louis. Milwaukee, though. I like Milwaukee. I love Milwaukee. Oh, man, you can have a weekend in Milwaukee. You can't. Yeah, I don't know that you want to live there. I mean, especially when like a major metropolis with like sprawling, cool, everything you want suburbs is like just a couple of miles away in Chicago, in the Chicagoland area. But if you want to get away and you want to see like a really cool little city, Milwaukee. Milwaukee is a cool city. I like Milwaukee. There you go. I'm saying it. I like Milwaukee. Milwaukee to me always, when I moved to Dallas, the whole Dallas and Fort Worth kind of thing, that's very similar to Chicago and Milwaukee. It's very similar. You know, it's like the way Dallasites view Fort Worth. It's kind of how Chicagoans view Milwaukee. It's like, it's right there. I can see you. You stay over there. Stay over there. I'll come over if you do something cool. But on this day in 1943, World War II, German Field Marshal Friedrich Paulus surrenders to the Soviets at Stalingrad, followed 2 days later by the remainder of his 6th Army and versus battles. So today was Stalingrad officially came to an end. That's a hell of a battle. That is. Look, guys, I know that we don't like to do this because we're Americans and we like to believe whatever makes us look good. If it wasn't for the battle put up in Stalingrad and the battle put up by the Russian people, World War II would have ended up completely differently. I know that we ended up on the wrong side of things with the Soviets and Stalin and all that, but if he had if Hitler didn't hate everybody, like if Hitler had just teamed with Stalin, and Stalin was a madman too, they probably could have found common ground. If Hitler and Stalin had teamed up, forget about it. Forget about it. World War II would have been a completely different story. It was the fact that Hitler had to fight on two fronts. He had to fight us, the Americans and the English, and all those. Who else? I don't know. I guess some Canadians and Australians were involved. They had to fight all of them on one side, but then they also had to use a whole bunch of their equipment and stuff to fight the Russians, and the Russians kicked their ass. The Russians, well, it was ugly, but the Russians won. So there you go. It was on this day. Well, just know for your intellectual consistency, just know that the Russians actually have a claim to being the ones most important in World War II. What? What did you say? What? I did. I said it. I said the Russians were. I said they have a claim. On this day in 1949, These Are My Children, the first television daytime soap opera, is broadcast by an NBC station in Chicago. These Are My Children. These Are My Children was the first known soap opera. These Are My Children, not to be confused with All My Children, but These Are My Children bombed. It bombed, man. It was the critics were like, this is stupid. And everybody's like, I don't want to watch this. You know why? This is like the first lesson of soap operas. Are you ready? It was about poor people. They made a soap opera about poor people. Nobody cared about learning about poor people. Soap operas are fantasy, right? They're supposed to be aspirational. You're supposed to see, that's why people watch soap operas. Oh, I want love like that. Or, oh, look at that beautiful house. Soap operas, there's a reason they're all doctors and they're all lawyers and they're all very well connected. It's aspirational programming. People don't want to watch poor people. Here's the plot for These Are My Children. This is the first soap opera, and this is why it failed. These Are My Children centered around an Irish widow named Mrs. Hennigan and her struggles to run a boarding house, as well as help her 3 children and her new daughter-in-law, Jean. Nobody wants to see that. We'll see that as a movie. We'll go to a movie. We'll be like, okay, are you prepared to watch poor people for 2 hours? I sure am. You'll go to the movie for that. You won't tune in every day to see, are they still broke? Again, not aspirational. If you're going to do a soap opera, that is dependent on being rich people. What else do we have here? On this day in 1950, President Truman orders the development of thermonuclear weapons. And we're off to the races. As on this day, that's when it started. He's like, all right, let's mass produce these bitches. On this day in 1988, Doug Williams becomes the first African-American quarterback to play in a Super Bowl and leads the Washington Redskins to victory in Super Bowl 22. 22. I remember watching this. God, you guys have to understand the world before Doug Williams won the Super Bowl. It was... I'll give you an example. So in the early 80s, before Jim McMahon, the Chicago Bears had a quarterback by the name of Vince Evans, and he was a black guy. And just the open 1981, the open racism that just everybody, and I don't even know that it was like, it might even be people who wonder, I'm not a racist. I actually think everybody should have equal opportunity and all that stuff. What do you think about a black quarterback? Well, that's just science. The black man doesn't have the capability to be a quarterback. A quarterback has to be a white man because we all know that white men are smart. I thought you said you weren't racist. I am not a racist, but it's known fact that white men, that was the belief. The belief was that quarterbacks couldn't win anything. Black quarterbacks couldn't win anything. Oh, sure, they can run and they can move from side to side and they're hard to tackle. It's because of that extra muscle, don't you know? No, I don't know. What are you talking about? Well, the black man has extra muscles, which allow them to dance as well as they do. Seriously, these were things that normal people openly discussed and believed. I remember I was like a kid, and my grandpa was telling me about the extra muscle, and I'm like, I don't think that's right. I don't think there's anything different about the black man's body. You ever seen one naked? Okay, maybe that's different, but no, there is no extra muscle. And Doug Williams on this, and by the way, very interesting. Put a pin in this Doug Williams thing. Doug Williams becoming the first black quarterback to win a Super Bowl, proving that black guys can, and black quarterbacks have won Super Bowl since. Have that? It's like, now I'm thinking, I'm like, wait a second, hold on, let's think this through. Who won last year? It was Matthew Stafford. Who won the year before? Patrick Mahomes. They'll be like, he's got a white mom. Okay. All right. So Patrick Mahomes, not black. Okay, whatever. He is. Before Lamar Jackson hasn't won one. Michael Vick never won one. Donovan McNabb never won one. Guys, can you guys name another black quarterback who's won a Super Bowl? Because I'm struggling here. All I know is that I only want black quarterbacks from this point forward on my team because the game has changed and they've proven to be good. And not that they ever had to prove it to me. I mean, I was never like that. I was always kind of like, I liked Vince Evans. I was like, Vince Evans seems pretty good. Anyway, on this day, Doug Williams, first black African-American quarterback to play in a Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. Put a pin in that. And remember that, okay? Let's see, what else do we have? On this day in 2020, the United Kingdom's membership within the European Union ceases in accordance with Article 50. Brexit. Remember Brexit? Brexit took effect after 47 years of being a member state. How's that going for them? I know they're not happy and they keep trying to overturn it, but I don't know. There's an HBO movie about Brexit that's really good. Brexit happened in 2016, in the summer of 2016, and it took till 2020 for them to actually go, all right, I guess we got to go through with this. 2022, on this day, someone named Sue Gray, a senior civil servant in the United Kingdom, publishes an initial version of her report of the Downing Street Partygate controversy. This is the thing that led to Boris Johnson, Prime Minister of England, having to step down. And now they got that new Prime Minister. I don't even know his name. I don't even know his name. What's the new Prime Minister of England's name? It's not that girl anymore, right? It was like, I don't know. Why do you care? I don't know. I don't know why I care. I don't know. Is John Major still the Prime Minister of England? No, I guess not. I'm getting old. All right, now let's go into some birthdays. Like I said, man, this is some crazy birthdays. Just right off the top. I mean, we got two major Hollywood stars who most of us have never heard of before, but I can assure you they were major stars. Born on this day in 1892, Eddie Cantor, American singer, songwriter, actor, and dancer. Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello. He was that guy or one of those guys. He sang. That was his act. I mean, I don't know if that was specifically his act. That might not have even been a song he sung. But he was like one of those guys. I'm a comedian and a dancer. And, he would come out like in vaudeville shows, I don't even know. Oh, God. Have you ever seen vaudeville? By today's standards, it's just like, I guess they had nothing else. They're warming themselves by trash can fires and eating rats. I don't know what. I guess this is entertaining compared to that. Tallulah Bankhead was born on this day in 1902. She was she is credited by many as being the first true screen movie star. Tallulah Bankhead. Cool ass name. That's a cool ass name. Didn't Bruce Willis and Demi Moore had a daughter that they named after her, right? Isn't there like a Tallulah Willis? Isn't that her? They named her after Tallulah Bankhead. That's a good name. Tallulah. Look, Tallulah's a cool name, but it's the Bankhead that comes at that's, I don't know, that really tips it in for me. Like if her name was Tallulah Jones, actually now that sounds like the title character in a blaxploitation film from the 1970s, doesn't it? Tallulah Jones. No, Tallulah Bankhead. That's a high quality name. Born on this day in 1919. Remember I asked you, I said, put a pin in the Doug Williams being the first black quarterback to win a Super Bowl on this day. Put a pin in that. We're going to revisit that. Born on this day in 1919, Jackie Robinson. Isn't that weird? Doug Williams became the first black quarterback to win a Super Bowl on Jackie Robinson's birthday. Let's see. Don't tell me there's no God. What? Schizophrenic me. You're the one who has been telling me there's no God. Born on this day in 1923. One of my favorite authors of all time. That's right, a guy got in trouble for announcing his death on the radio. Nobody knows who that is. Why are you even talking about that? I get yelled at. I'm like, because I have more respect for my audience, and I think that some of them are a bit more literate than you do. No, they're not. I'm like, okay, I guess so. Norman Mailer was born on this day. Norman Mailer born on this day in 1923. By the way, I got a note on the old Twitter box from somebody who I don't even know who they were, but they had a recommendation for me. They heard me. I announced the death of Norman Mailer a few weeks back, and I said, just if you don't know who he is, just read Executioner Song. Just start with Executioner Song. Yeah, man, this person was like, I don't think that's the right way to start with Norman Mailer. Why would you tell them to write a book that wasn't anything like anything else that he wrote? I'm like, because it's a cool story about Gary Gilmore in the execution of a mass murderer. I don't know. It's a good story. I like it. You probably know, they're like, here's the problem. Obviously, Naked and the Dead, right? Armies of the Night. Those are Pulitzer Prize winning books by Norman Mailer. You could start with those. but I don't know. Unless you're in college and high, I don't know if those are really going to resonate. So I just said, people want to know who Norman Mailer is. Pick up Executioner Song. It's a good read. It's Norman Mailer, the a pioneer of new journalism, of new writing, new style, gritty. What Scorsese was to film in the 1970s, Norman Mailer was to books. Born on this day in 1931. Yep, I said I announced his death, and I said that I will always honor this guy, even though I hate the Chicago Cubs. Happy birthday, Mr. Cub, Ernie Banks. Born on this day in 1931. A true baller. Let's play two, Ernie. American baseball player, coach, died in 2015. Born on this day in 1937, Suzanne Pleshette. Suzanne Pleshette was an actress. She was I have looked as a grown-up back at pictures. I've seen pictures of Suzanne Pleshette, and I've been like, she's hot. But when I knew her on TV, I was only like 5. So I wasn't hot wasn't a thing for me at 5. I just always thought she was the woman who talked like this. Oh, Bob. She was on the Bob Newhart show. She played his wife. Who was always dealing with his nonsense and his that was a great show. The Bob Newhart show is a great show. Now, Newhart, many of us know Newhart, which was his second hit television series. That came in like the 80s. Newhart was Bob running a bed and breakfast in New Hampshire. But the original Bob Newhart show, he was a psychiatrist. And it was a really good quality situation comedy at a time when there weren't a lot of quality situation qualities were, mom, they were kind of stupid. They were about a family, a mother, and then they were dumb. Bob Newhart was a psychiatrist, and he had crazy people on his show every week. I thought it was funny. Suzanne Pleshette, born on this day in 1937. Oh, Bob. Born on this day in 1941. All right, we are on a run of 4 people here that we're just going to have to take a moment, because this is 4 really good ones. Born on this day in 1941, Jessica Walter. Ladies and gentlemen, Jessica Walter. Who's Jessica Walter? Who's Jessica Walter? Are you kidding me? Lucille Bluth? Arrested Development? The mom? The, without question, funniest depiction of a mother in the history of television. Lucille Bluth was hysterical. Lucille Bluth on Arrested Development was this very wealthy older woman who had suddenly late in life lost all of her money because of the hijinks of her husband, played by Jeffrey Tambor, because he was a crook and all that. It was kind of like a Madoff situation where she still thinks she's super wealthy, but she's not. What was one of her lines that I really liked? Where she said, it's something to the effect of, there was a missing banana. And she said, because she's a wealthy woman who has no idea about anything, she goes, oh, come on, it's just a banana. Go to the store and get another one. What could it cost? $15? Like one banana, $15. Because she's rich. That's not the exact quote, but it was like that. And that was her attitude. She was so funny. Oh, my God. And she was in Play Misty for Me. I don't know if you've ever seen the Clint Eastwood movie, Play Misty. She's in a lot of movies, but Play Misty for Me is the one that I always think of her. Play Misty for Me. Play Misty for Me was Clint Eastwood. He played a overnight disc jockey in Southern California in the 1970s. And he had a stalker. This is like the first depiction of a stalker. Jessica Walter was a caller to his late night radio show who would always request, Play Misty for Me. It's a good movie. Jessica Walter, born on this day in 1941. She was great. Like I said, we've got a nice little run here of people born on this day in what year do we have here? 1946. 2 weeks ago, I think we talked about his death. Terry Kath, American guitarist, singer, songwriter. In my opinion, the most underappreciated lead guitar player in the history of rock music. Terry Kath was the lead guitar player for the band Chicago until he decided to get effed up at a party and play a little Russian roulette, and he blew his head off accidentally. There you have it, Terry Kath. The death of Terry Kath was monumentous in a number of ways. He was one of the truly great players of his era who died just as people were going, wow, he's like one of the truly great players of his era. So there was really nothing to build on. And also because his band, Chicago, just became like a bad wedding band after he left. After he left, Peter Cetera took over, and it became just like nothing but bad, schlocky rock songs. I mean, they still made a lot of money. I mean, the band sold like 200 million albums. It's crazy how many albums they sold, but they were never as great as when Terry Kath was leading that band. And now the fourth one that I said we were going to get into, our third one, we had a run of three people. Ladies and gentlemen, celebrating a birthday today, born on this day in 1947, Jonathan Banks. Jonathan Banks. Who's Jonathan Banks? Any relation to Ernie Banks? No. Jonathan Banks, man. Jonathan Banks. I'll give you a second. Jonathan Banks. He's Mike Ehrmantraut from Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. Mike Ehrmantraut, ladies and gentlemen. One of the great characters. I love Mike Ehrmantraut. Nobody can play a good guy who has reconciled himself to doing bad things quite like Jonathan Banks. That's the whole Mike Ehrmantraut character. Mike Ehrmantraut is a good dude. He's a good, salt-of-the-earth man's man. But because of the situation that happened when he was a cop in Philadelphia, he got set up, and now he's forced into the world of the shadows. And he's got to do some bad things. And he's willing to do it because he understands his lot in life. He understands that this is just where I am. But Mike Ehrmantraut would help you change a tire. Mike Ehrmantraut will give you a ride to your doctor's appointment. That's Mike Ehrmantraut. He'll also kill you from like 2 football fields away with a scoped rifle. But he doesn't want to do that. He just has to do that because of his granddaughter. Jonathan Banks. What a guy. Great birthday. Great birthday, right? I love me some Jonathan Banks. And here finally in the 4, I said we had a run of 4. We had Jessica Walter, Lucille Bruth, Terry Kath, most underappreciated guitar history, Jonathan Banks, just an amazing, amazing guy. And here you go. This one, born on this day in 1947. I'll put it to you this way. I think in all my years of watching baseball, and I love baseball, this is kind of hard because Pedro is alive and Pedro is out there. If I had to start one pitcher in one game to win it all, and I could choose any pitcher that I've seen, I don't want to go all the way back to Christy Mathewson. I don't want to go all the way back to that. But if I could pick one pitcher to start one game that I needed to win, again, Pedro's out there, though. Pedro Martinez, man. That guy. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Nolan Ryan's birthday. Nolan Ryan. I go back and forth between him and Pedro as being, in my opinion, the most intimidating, the most dominant pitchers. 2 different eras, but man, I still haven't seen Facing Nolan on Netflix, which is a documentary about Nolan Ryan and how insanely dominant he was. Makes good steaks too. Actually, I don't know. I don't know if that's true. I've never had Nolan Ryan meat. I just see it in the grocery store here in Texas. Nolan Ryan steaks. It's kind of like, here's what I will say about Nolan Ryan. And I love Nolan Ryan. Don't get me wrong. Nolan Ryan in this town, in Texas, I would say great in Texas. Nolan Ryan is viewed through the same lens. Texans use the same lens to view Nolan Ryan as we Chicagoans and Midwesterns view Mike Ditka. It's like the same guy. It's like, if you're in a fight, you want Nolan Ryan. If you're in a fight, you want Ditka. It's like that same thing, this sort of exalted older guy from sporting years past that just their reputation is not necessarily that they're like, Nolan, Dick Buttkiss, right? That's the guy. Like, you got to get in a fight, dude. Dick Buttkiss. So maybe you wouldn't take Mike Ditka. Mike Ditka whips some ass, but Dick Butkus would be the guy. Guy like here in Dallas, it might be Randy White, right? We need somebody with Randy White. So we don't really see Nolan Ryan and Mike Ditka through those, but just like badass guys that you don't want yelling at you. That's kind of it. There you go. Nobody wants Mike Ditka yelling at him. Nobody wants Nolan Ryan yelling at him. Intimidating dudes. Happy birthday, Nolan Ryan. Born on this day in 1956, John Lydon, English singer-songwriter, better known to you kids out there who are now grandparents as Johnny Rotten. That's right, Johnny Rotten, the Sex Pistols. Born on this day in 1956. He's a piece of shit. He really is. He is a hardcore piece of shit. He has been a hardcore piece of shit since 1977. it's, I don't know, I guess there's some warmth and security in the consistency of his being a piece of shit all these years, but Johnny Rotten, piece of shit. Happy birthday to Johnny Lydon. Born on this day in 1959. What happened? What happened here? 1959, she was born. I thought she was going to be like a major star, and then there was like nothing. What happened? Did Robin Wright happen? Is that what happened? Ladies and gentlemen, it's Kelly Lynch's birthday. Remember Kelly Lynch? Kelly Lynch was like, Hollywood found a new 6-foot young blonde. We're going to make her a star. Her name is Kelly Lynch. Oh, Robin Wright. It's like we went from, Kelly Lynch was drugstore cowboy. Wasn't she also in Point Break? I think Point Break. Of course, The Princess Bride. No, see, that's Robin Wright. They're like the same person. They're like one. I think Kelly Lynch was a little bit before Robin Wright. And then Robin Wright came on the scene, and all the producers who were about to cast Kelly Lynch went, "Yeah, we like this one better." Can't explain why. Roadhouse. Pain don't hurt. Remember, she was the doctor in Roadhouse, Kelly Lynch. What happened to her? What happened to Kelly Lynch? Where'd she go? All right, hold on. I'm thinking. I want to see let's see what Kelly Lynch looks like today. Please don't be a Bridget Fonda situation. Please don't be a Bridget Fonda situation. All right. All right, let's see here. All right. Kelly Lynch. Let's see how she's holding together. Okay. All right. Fine looking woman. Is that her back in the day? That can't be her now. Can that be her now? That could be her now. Or relative. There she is. Okay. This picture of Kelly Lynch, who's celebrating a birthday today, born on this day in 1959. This is like this is like Kathy Griffin with a really good glamorous filter on her picture, right? Doesn't that kind of look like Kathy Griffin on her best day? Which is Kelly Lynch. Kelly Lynch, still a beautiful woman. All right, she's look at that. I like that haircut on her. She should go with that haircut. All right, there you go, Kelly Lynch. I don't know I have no idea what happened to her. Neither do you. She just kind of disappeared from the whole acting world. She's probably married some rich guy, and now, Jeff Glenn says, if I was in a fight, I'd want someone who could kick Chuck Norris's ass. I'll take James Parker. That's right. James Parker thinks he can still take Chuck Norris. James Parker has no respect for fighting. James Parker is just a big guy who has never learned how to fight. He may not even know how to properly throw a punch. He can throw a haymaker, and I'm sure he can knock your ass out if he connected because he's a big dude. But Chuck Norris would kill him. He's a frail old man. He's a frail old man that will punch you so quickly in one spot of your head that your brain will shut down momentarily. And at that point, your knees will crumple and you'll fall to the ground. And old man Chuck Norris will start beating you to death with his cane. He knows how to fight. He knows where to hit you. He knows exactly where on the nose to pop you so that your nose will explode and it won't necessarily, it'll shove back up into your brain. That's not really a thing. But there is a way that you can break the nose that it causes such immense pain that the blood flows into your eyes and you're momentarily blinded by it. We've seen that in boxing. See, James doesn't know how to do that. He'd never get a punch off. No, he would, because he would punch you before you would walk up to Chuck Norris and go, I think I could kick your asshole. And then right there, you wouldn't even get the sentence out. And he would shatter your windpipe. That's the other thing that he would know how to do. You're not going to punch him in the windpipe. You're going to go, bah! You're going to go like this. And he's going to go, fat. He's going to hit you right in the windpipe. And you're going to go, what? James Parker and his stupid take that he thinks he can beat up Chuck Norris. What are we going to do with that kind of guy? All right, let's moving on. 1970, born on this day. One of my favorite people. One of my first truly great celebrity run-in stories. Brushes with greatness. Happy birthday, Minnie Driver. I love you, Minnie Driver. Minnie Driver You are such a nice person. You really are a nice person. Minnie Driver, I got the opportunity to sit next to Minnie Driver during a Chicago Bulls championship basketball game. I was at an alternative rock station in Chicago. And we were putting on our big summer bash, and the headliners were the Foo Fighters. And was she dating Taylor Hawkins? Yeah, she was. Was she dating? Yeah, she was dating Taylor Hawkins at the time, the late, great Taylor Hawkins. And we had set up, it was during one of the Bulls championship runs, and nobody wanted to miss the game. And unfortunately, the concert was set up for the time that the game was going to be playing. It was an all-day event, and the game was like at 3:00 in the afternoon. So we had set up this whole like viewing area with we could big screen TVs donated. They made a couch section, and the Foo Fighters are like big basketball fans. So the Foo Fighters were all sitting on the couches, and all of us who work at the radio station, we were hanging out on the couches too, watching the game, because back then nobody wanted to miss a second of the Jordan Bulls. And I was sitting on the couch right next to English, or is she Irish? I think she's English. I don't know. Minnie Driver. And I was between Taylor Hawkins and Minnie Driver, which is weird because they were dating, but whatever. Nobody seemed to have a problem with it. Taylor Hawkins was talking basketball with his friends. And Minnie was like, I don't understand what's going on here. So I sat there and I basically just broke down basketball. I explained it to Minnie Driver, and she was so nice. She was so nice. Oh, and so cute. Like in real life, it's like, okay, you're like maybe a 7 on the screen. You're a 10 in real life. Like walking around, you are really, I get why Taylor Hawkins, who could probably get anybody at that time, was with Minnie Driver. Anyway, happy birthday to her. She's a wonderful person. In my 45 minutes of sitting next to her and explaining sports to her, American sports. Born on this day in 1970, Minnie Driver. Born on this day in 1973, Portia de Rossi, Australian-American actress. Australian, she's an Australian. She doesn't talk like this. Portia de Rossi is celebrating a birthday today, which is also interesting because we talked about Jessica Walter celebrating a birthday today. Portia de Rossi, who played Jessica Walter's daughter on Arrested Development. I bet there was some good parties on this day on the set of Arrested Development. When you got two main cast members celebrating a birthday on the same day. Portia de Rossi. Mrs. Ellen DeGeneres. How does that work? I don't know. I don't know how that works. God. Portia de Rossi is so gorgeous. She is really a beautiful woman. I describe Minnie Driver as a 10. If Minnie Driver is a 10, Portia de Rossi is a 15. She is just so, and also just not aging. Doesn't really seem to be aging, and seems so happy. Like her and Ellen seem happy, although Ellen is not described by people as a happy person. And I know somebody who worked for her for a number of years. Born on this day in 1977. Ladies and gentlemen, the most underutilized and underappreciated character actor, not even character actor, performer, we'll call him a performer, the most underutilized and underappreciated performer in the history of Saturday Night Live. Born on this day in 1977, Bobby Moynihan. Bobby Moynihan, you may not even know his name. Who? Well, first of all, every time he was in a scene, and he wasn't given a lot of lead characters in these scenes, but every scene that he was in, he was great. Like if you watch old SNLs and you see Bobby Moynihan, just the glue that he was in all these scenes. And for dollars to donuts, kids, Drunk Uncle, his Weekend Update character. I don't know. Like, who are the funniest Weekend Update characters of all time? We can go back to Rosanna, right? Gilda Radner's Rosanna. She laid the groundwork. She was the first. All right. Now we're going to bring on for commentary, Rosanna. She was great. Stefan, Bill Hader's Stefan is so great. I gotta be honest, man. I think Drunk Uncle's the funniest. I think Drunk Uncle. And here's what's amazing about Drunk Uncle on Saturday Night Live. And this is why I just think Bobby Moynihan is so incredibly underutilized. And I'll expand on that in a moment. Drunk Uncle. Go on YouTube. Go on YouTube after this and just pull up some Drunk Uncles. You guys, that is an acting performance. That dude is acting brilliantly. And it's not just like the stuff he's saying, because that's written for him. It's the way it's his affectations. It's his little minor sort of nuanced way he uses his eyes, like because he's a little bit drunk, or the way he's just like complete. It's a brilliant acting performance. And every time I see those drunk uncles, I go, man, this guy is a great actor. Which brings me to an interesting thing. So last night, I don't know if you guys have ever seen, are you guys familiar with I think it's on Netflix now, but it was originally on IFC. It was a TV series called Documentary Now. Documentary Now. Documentary Now was a mockumentary series in the vein of the Chris Guest movies. It's so brilliant. And it was created by Bill Hader and Fred Armisen. And the premise of Documentary Now is that every episode is supposed to be a presentation of a real documentary. But it's not. It's a satire of a doc. But all of the documentaries that are performed by Bill Hader and Fred Armisen are from real documentaries. Like Roger and Me is a real documentary, right? Roger and Me. So in Documentary Now, they would present a documentary called Phil and the Cars, or something. But it would be the exact same story, just played for laughs by Bill Hader. It's so brilliant. It is such a brilliant series. It's so brilliant. Helen Mirren is the host of it. She comes out and presents it like it's a real PBS kind of documentary series, and she adds an air of sophistication and elegance and seriousness to it. And then you watch the documentary, and it's balls out funny because it's Bill Hader and Fred Armisen. Anyway, I started rewatching Documentary Now last night, and I went immediately to my favorite Documentary Now episode, which is an episode, and if you can find this on you can find it on Netflix. I watched it last night. It's called Any Given Saturday Afternoon. Okay, that's the episode of Documentary you want. Any Given Saturday Afternoon, which is a parody of a real documentary that came out in the 1990s called Any Given Saturday about the Pro Bowlers Tour. It was a real documentary about the PBA, the Pro Bowlers Tour. So on Documentary Now, it's the parody is Any Given Saturday Afternoon. And it stars Dexter. Like, they go out and get real actors to play the people in these movies. So who was Dexter? The guy who played Dexter, who was also on 6 Feet Under, I can't think of his name. But it was him. Anyway, there was another guy, and it was Bobby Moynihan. Bobby Moynihan played a down-on-his-luck bowler who was like, he never won a tournament, but he goes to all the tournaments, and he's... Bobby Moynihan's performance in Any Given Saturday Afternoon, man, it'll make you cry. It's supposed to be a comedy, but his performance as this sad but eternally optimistic, he's going to win the next tournament. His sad but eternally optimistic character is so brilliant. Bobby Moynihan. I know I spent a little bit of time on him, but I'm so blown away. I watched it again last night, and every time I watch it, I go, holy shit, Bobby Moynihan is an actor. Drunk uncle, the character that he plays in Any Given Saturday Afternoon. I highly suggest this afternoon, folks, here in Dallas, if you're doing absolutely nothing and you want to laugh and you want to escape, find Documentary Now on Netflix and watch Any Given Saturday Afternoon. If you think Bill Hader is funny, then you got to. If you think Fred Armisen is funny, then you got to watch this show. Also born on this day, Kerry Washington, born on this day in 1977. Look at this. Kerry Washington and Bobby Moynihan are umbilical cousins. Kerry Washington. Boy, she's powerful these days, right? Isn't she on like a whole bunch of shows? I don't know. I don't know, Kerry. Is she a Scandal still a show? Wasn't she the star of that? I never saw it. Scandal just to me looks like, West Wing for women. I was like, West Wing with like needless romantic subplots. So I never watched it, but people say it's a good show. Maybe I'll check it out. Ladies and gentlemen, born on this day in 1981. 1981. We talked about this being a day for biggins. Justin Timberlake. JT celebrating a birthday. JT, American singer, songwriter, dancer, and actor. Well, when's he going to start acting more? Was he good in stuff? I mean, he was always good on Saturday Night Live. Was he good in stuff? Why isn't Justin Timberlake a big movie star? That seemed like that was just like going to happen and should have happened 10 years ago. I don't know. Justin Timberlake just sitting on a big old pile of money, thinking about Is he a thing still? Like musically, or is he considered old now? Is he like not like has he been replaced by Justin Bieber or Harry Styles? I gotta imagine Justin Timberlake could still go on tour, right? And he could, I don't know, anyway. Happy birthday, Justin Timberlake. Also born on this day in 1987, Marcus Mumford and Sons. I don't even know who that dude is, but apparently he's been in the news lately because isn't he going through a divorce? And isn't it messy? Isn't it like a messy divorce that Marcus Mumford's going through? Yeah. And now we'll move into the deaths. Guy Fawkes, and we already mentioned it, 1606. That Guy Fawkes, English conspirator, leader of the gunpowder plot, was executed on this date in 1606. We already covered how. He was drawn, quartered, and hung for trying to blow up British Parliament back in 1606. Guy Fawkes. Guy Fawkes night, the Guy Fawkes masks. Do you think if anybody said to him back then, hey, I know this is going to hurt a lot, but 500 years from now, people are going to be running around with your mask, a mask of your face? He'd have been like, whatever. Anyway, that's it, man. Honestly, that's it. I went through all the deaths, and there's like really nothing I got a hot take on, nothing I can report. I don't know. All right, so now it's the point in the show where we like to move into the actual topics of today. These are the headlines, current events, hot topics, whatever it is. Buzzworthy mentions, things of note. First and foremost, let's get into weather, shall we? Shall we get into weather? Let's see. Yep, snow is still there. We got snow here in North Texas. Ice storm slams Texas, crippling roads and closing schools. Hold on, let me see. Let me check and see if my kid's school has been canceled for tomorrow as well. Canceled today. My Plano school district is out. He was canceled today. Let's see, is tomorrow canceled too? District updates for Plano ISD, January 30th. Okay, important message. Schools closed for Tuesday, January 31st. We know this. Has there been any announcement as to whether or not school will be closed? I imagine school is going to be closed tomorrow too, right? Because it's going to be cold. Schools are closed. Everything's closed. Parents are all dealing with their kids in their house. Thank God for video games, huh? Like I saw this one woman, she texted, I hope my kids like baking and crafts. I'm like, bitch, they're going to be on Xbox all afternoon. What are you worried about baking and crafts? An ice storm slamming Texas this week is crippling roads, closing schools, and canceling flights. The freezing rain began Monday and is expected to last through Thursday morning. The ice will stretch from Texas through Oklahoma, Arkansas, Tennessee, and into Kentucky. What else do we have? Some areas have already seen 1 to 2 inches of sleet on top of glaze of ice, creating traffic nightmares. Yeah, man, really is. Wow. Looking at a map here. We're right in the thick of it. Basically, we're ground zero for whatever this is. By Tuesday evening, that's tonight. This is future. They're telling us about the future now. By Tuesday evening, the ice will be falling in Austin. By Tuesday evening, the ice will be falling in Austin and Dallas, as well as Little Rock, Arkansas, and Memphis near Nashville, Tennessee. So it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. Have my Dallas friends been posting pictures of their trips to the supermarket? Dude, it's going to be 3 days. You don't have to run to the supermarket and buy all the toilet paper, okay? It's going to be 3 days. There's just no milk. Look, there was one lady, girl that I follow on Twitter, who was at a Kroger, and she was showing the line for checkout at Kroger. Multiple hours. We're talking hundreds of people in line, and then all the shelves are empty. What the fudge, people? Are you serious? I mean, come on. We gotta get through this till Thursday. You don't have cans of beans. I got some pasta. I got some rice. I got cans of beans. I got some deli meat. I'm fine. You should be fine too. Not everybody lives like you, you weird hermit. Oh, that's true. That's true. I got chips. I'm looking at a big bag of chips. I can go eat chips if I want. Got a bottle of syrup. I got nothing to put it on. I got a bottle of syrup. In case I got a sweet tooth, I need something sweet. Take a swig of syrup. No, I wouldn't do that. That's kind of gross. Ice accumulations could near 1 inch in some spots throughout the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, covering power lines, roads, and sidewalks. Okay, so this is what we need to worry about. It's not so much the cold. It's the weight of the ice on the power lines. This is what I live in fear of. I live in a neighborhood, Highland Park here. I live in a neighborhood that, well, this house, the house that I reside in, the guest house on the 1% property I reside, everything on this property was built in 1938, right? And so a lot of these houses around here are really old houses. This is an old neighborhood. And granted, there's a lot of tear downs and there's a lot of like, this mansion was built in 2015 for $10 million. There's a lot of that too. And by the way, all these rich people have generators. Oh man, we saw that over the summer when we lost power. Like all the rich people just with their generators going and all their lights on. And I'm sitting there charging my laptop and my phone and my car. It's rich people. Anyway, I worry about the infrastructure here. I worry about the power lines. Because if this neighborhood this is an old neighborhood, like how old are these power lines? The ice will accumulate on the power lines. So it's basically like, gallons of water. That's like the weight. It's just frozen. And then the power lines snap and then we don't have power for days on end. So that's what I'm worried about. What else do we have to look at? It is beautiful, though. I'm looking at pictures of Dallas covered in white. It's beautiful. The ice could weigh. Well, look at this. The ice could weigh down power lines and trees. So officials are urging Texans to be prepared for power outages and be mindful of the possibility of trees falling onto cars and homes. Okay, first of all, stop misdirecting. Trees are badass. Trees are going to be fine. Trees get knocked down because of high winds, exceedingly high winds and tornadoes and stuff like that. I'm not worried about the trees falling. I'm worried about your shitty work with the infrastructure, with the power line. That's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about the stuff you humans make. I'm not worried about a tree coming down because there's an inch of ice on. That's not going to happen, but the power lines might. National Weather Service is urging people to avoid driving if possible. I second that. Can't drive. People in the South cannot drive in bad weather. That's just it. They just can't. They can't. I've seen it. That's why the whole place shuts down, right? My kid's off school today. He's probably off school again tomorrow. All the kids in this neighborhood here are off school. Basically, all of the Dallas Independent School District has been closed today. Do you know how many snow days I had as a child growing up in the Midwest? From like kindergarten through senior year of high school, maybe 5 missed days total due to weather. And, well, you must not have had bad weather. Oh, we had blizzards. We went to school in blizzards. I stood at a bus stop with 30-degree below zero temperatures waiting for the bus to come and pick me up. 5. That's why snow days were so glorious back then, because they truly were rare. They were a reason to celebrate. You didn't get them all the time. You used to sit there, you'd get like a bad snow and you'd wake up in the morning and you'd stare at the TV and whatever the local news was, they would have the school closing scrolling on the bottom of the screen and you would just be staring, you'd be fingers crossed. And all the school closings were like because the boiler went out and they can't heat the school. It was never because of bad weather. It was always like some stupid, and I lived in a nice suburb with new schools, so the boilers never went out. Let's see. The National Weather Service is urging people to avoid driving if possible. Many Dallas area schools have been closed for Monday and Tuesday. In Austin, firefighters said they're responding to over 90 accidents so far. The department also said there have been 2 fires caused by space heaters. Please stay home and off the roads. Give space heaters plenty of space. Never use yes. So that big bale of hay that you have in your bedroom, make sure that the space heater is not quite right up on the bale of hay because that could cause a problem. Pro tip from me. Please stay home and off the roads. You can't say that enough. No, I'm looking at some more than 1,000. Okay, so we'll move on to the next one. Airports are trending today. Airports are all over the country. They're experiencing delays. Primarily because of a domino effect. DFW is one of the biggest, most important airports in America. It's massive. So many connecting flights come through DFW. DFW is jacked up right now. So because DFW is jacked up right now, all the other, it's a domino effect. Like, so everything from LaGuardia has delays, Kennedy has delays, all of the O'Hare has delays, and it's all because nothing is being allowed to land or take off in Dallas. All flights that were inbound to Dallas Fort Worth International Airport and Dallas Love Field were held at their origin cities at times on Tuesday as freezing rain spoiled travel in North Texas. See, that's what happens. If you're in Miami and you're flying into Dallas and they won't let planes fly into Dallas, now all of a sudden you got a plane load of people sitting there, clogging everything up in Miami. So now Miami is going to have delays. Dominoes. The air traffic procedure, known as a ground stop, is in place for a second time at DFW until 1 p.m., this according to the FAA. At Love Field, a ground stop ended at 10:15 a.m. At DFW Airport, 383 flights, or 44% of those that were to have originated there, were canceled on Tuesday. Flights headed to DFW were delayed at their origin, an average of 4 hours and 42 minutes. Representatives of both airports advised travelers to check with airlines before driving to the airport. American Airlines, based in Fort Worth, was waiving for customers traveling. Hold on. I'm going to read this sentence. American Airlines, based in Fort Worth, was waiving for customers traveling to, through or from DFW Airport. Okay. It was just, oh my God, that is bad journalism. That is a terrible sentence. That is, Mr. Ed Morris, my teacher, would not have allowed that sentence. American Airlines, based in Fort Worth, was waiving for customers traveling to, through, or from DFW Airport a fee it typically charges to change a ticket. I mean, when you read it like that, it makes sense, but boy, that is some clumsy writing. So that's why airports are trending. Lakeland, Florida. Lakeland, Florida is trending this morning. We've got another shooting. This is a terrible shooting. 11 hurt, 2 in critical condition after shooting in Lakeland, Florida. This story is like circulating. People are like, we go. All right. This is just crime. This is just crime. I guess I shouldn't say just crime because it's a gun crime and it's serious. And we don't. Again, with these mass shootings, I make a distinction between street crime that has always happened among criminals who are, beefing with other criminals. That's one. And if 13 criminals get shot and, there's like, well, gangbangers drove by and they lit up a party full of gangbangers and now they're all, okay, that's one thing. That's tragic and that's a problem. But let's not conflate that with the thing that's got us all pearl clutching, which is the guy who walks into the movie theater and just goes, I hate everyone. That's a different kind of shooting. The Half Moon, the Half Moon Bay shooting in San Francisco. There's people at work. Oh, here comes Crazy Charlie. And Crazy Charlie's gang, and he kills her. That's terrible. Those people who were just doing their job had every expectation to go home safely that night. The dance hall on Lunar New Year that happened in Monterey Park, California. Those are just people out celebrating. You want to go out tonight? Let's go out tonight. Let's dance. Yeah, Lunar New Year. Those people had every reasonable expectation that they were going to be safe and that somebody wasn't going to kill them. I don't know that I can say the same or feel the same way about people who hang out with gang members. It's just not the same thing. Crime has always occurred between criminals. Innocent people are often injured in stray bullets and all that stuff. And what a damn shame that you have to live in that kind of environment. But crime is something that we should be focusing on. But it's different than the stuff that I think you and I all know is the stuff that really freaks us out. That we can't go into a Target now without worrying about some nut walking in. The shooting occurred in the area of Iowa Avenue in North Lakeland, Florida. Police initially said 9 people were hurt, but later learned that 2 additional people also had injuries. 2 people had critical injuries and 9 people had non-life-threatening injuries. Police said the 2 victims with critical injuries are getting better. One is in surgery and the other is either in surgery or headed to surgery. Thanks for the information. 4 suspects in a dark blue 4-door Nissan with tinted windows and temporary plates are believed to have been involved in the shootings. The vehicle slowed. It did. There were a whole bunch of people gathered on the street, both sides of the street, people hanging out. The vehicle slowed. It did not stop, and the 4 windows went down. It appears it was occupied by 4 shooters in the vehicle, and they started firing from all 4 windows of the vehicle and shooting males on both sides of the street. We have reason to believe that this was a targeted gang-related event, that it was not a random act. All right, so there you have it. That tells us the difference. There has always been targeted gangland violence, whether we're talking about Capone's South Side gang versus Pugs Moran and the North Side gang. That's gang related. Well, it's St. Valentine's Day massacre, right? Those are all gang related. We've always had that. What we haven't always had is the guy who walks into the midnight showing of Batman and decides he's going to kill everybody in the theater. So that's why I make a distinction. Both are very serious, and both certainly deserve our attention and certainly deserve some sort of legislation, some sort of action, some sort of attempt to stop it. But as I say, the violence against crime on crime violence, that's been happening forever, and ain't nobody lifted a finger to really do anything about it. And it seems like it's the same thing is happening with the guy who walks into the shopping mall and just decides to slay people for no reason. So the media is attempting to make us think another shooting. No, this is not the same thing. Yes, it was very frightening a week ago when we had the Monterey Park shooting, and then that was followed the next day by the Half Moon Bay shooting. Those were very scary because those were random. Those was a crazy person. But we see there are shootings every single day. That's crime on crime. But they lump them all together. It's out of control. Well, I guess accumulatively it is, but I'm just saying I make a distinction between what scares me and what doesn't scare me, because I don't hang out with gang members, and I stay away from certain. I grew up on the South Side of Chicago. People are always like, "Oh, you must have seen some shit." No, because even growing up on the South Side of Chicago, there were just areas of town that I've never been to, like blocks away from where I lived. I've never been there. You ever hung out on the corner of Racine and 75th? No, I haven't. But you lived at 81st and Western. Yeah. Well, isn't that just 2 blocks away? Yeah. Never been there, because you just don't go there because So I'm not afraid of being cut down at a backyard gang party, right? Because I'm not going to go to any gang party. But I will go to a Target, and I will go see a midnight showing of Batman. And that is not to say that those people deserve what they get, but it's not what they deserve what they get. Deserve is not the word, but they do exist in an environment where that is the kind of thing that occurs regularly. I don't live in that environment. I don't. And most of us don't. All right, let's move on. Santos is trending. George Santos, he was, who George Santos is. 2004 Heisman Trophy winner. First gay man in space. Pulitzer Prize, all that stuff. We all know George Santos and all that he's accomplished in his short but eventful life. Rep. George Santos says that he will not serve on House committees while investigations are ongoing. This is a big deal because old Kevin McCarthy, who really needs his vote, he put him on some committees. This guy who's like, anyway. The right thing. I'm sure he didn't decide to do this. I'm sure that this came from pressure from within the Republican caucus, which is good to see. Embattled Republican George Santos of New York will not serve on the 2 House committees to which he was recently assigned until the investigations into his conduct end. All right, well, that's not going to end well. It ain't going to end with, you didn't lie about all this stuff. Go ahead. Make some very high dollar decisions while seated on the House Armed Services Committee. Go ahead. Make some life-altering decision for all of Americans while you're seated prominently on the Ways and Means Committee. No, he can't be involved in any of this shit. Just because the people of Long Island got duped, that doesn't mean the rest of us have to now deal with whatever he thinks is right. No. Santos informed Republican lawmakers during a closed-door conference meeting in Washington, D.C. earlier that, quote, he's not accepting the committee assignments until things get cleared up. This, according to a longtime GOP lawmaker who was in the room. That's not what happened. That is not what happened. That's not what happened. He did not valiantly fall on his sword. He has been doubling down since this whole thing started. He was told, here's the deal. We're either going to fire you from these committees and it's going to be even more embarrassment for you, or you have an opportunity now to kind of look like an honorable person and say, look, in light of the investigation. So they gave him that option and he took the right option. Embattled Republican Rep. George Santos will not serve on 2 House committees to which he was assigned until a slew of investigations into his campaign and personal finances have concluded. Freshman lawmaker said he asked House Speaker Kevin McCarthy to temporarily recuse him. No, you didn't. Okay. Oh, this sounds real magnanimous of you, George Santos. I appreciate your honesty here. He's not being honest. Can't believe anything he says. And besides, we know that's not how it works. The Republicans in Congress have been humiliated over and over again by this guy. They don't need this guy around. They need his vote. They need him seated there, and they need him voting. They don't need him on any of the... That's why George Santos is trending today. Okay, here comes one. Here comes one from my Chicago people. Oh, my God. Can you believe this nonsense? Can you believe this crazy woman is still in charge? Kim Foxx is trending. Now, Kim Foxx, please. Kim Foxx is not a name. Well, I was going to say Kim Foxx is not a name that anybody outside of Cook County should know. She's a low level... Wow. No, she's actually got a very important job. She is the state's attorney for Cook County, which is the county that has Chicago in it. It's a very big job. She decides who gets charges, whether charges get dropped. She brings charge, all of that stuff. Guy shoots up 10 people. It's Kim Foxx who brings the charges on behalf of the people of Cook County. Kim Foxx is terrible. Kim Foxx is terrible at her job. She has been terrible at her job. Now she's been reelected. I know because I voted against her and I couldn't believe that she got reelected. You should not know who Kim Foxx is unless you watch Fox News. Then for some reason, Fox News has made the prosecutor in Cook County, who really only has jurisdiction over a very small amount of people. They've turned her into a superstar, just as they've turned the junior representative from New York, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, into the biggest boogeyman in American politics. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has no power. She chairs nothing. She sits on a few committees and she makes speeches, but she made herself a target and now you've elevated her to like this super important place. That's kind of like what's happening with Kim Foxx, except she deserves the shit for here. So who was Kim Foxx? Why is she a moron? Kim Foxx was involved in the whole Jussie Smollett thing. She refused to bring charges originally. She took his side over the police. Why? Because Kim Foxx is a celeb ball sack sucker. That's what Kim Foxx is. Kim Foxx loves the fame. Kim Foxx loves that, she gets to go to dinners and gets her picture taken with Michelle Obama. She puts those all over the place. The Empire, the show that Jussie Smollett was on, Kim Foxx was a regular on the set of Empire. The Cook County State's Attorney. You should just show up on the set of Empire and go, this is so cool. I love my position that I'm allowed to do this. She's awful. She is just awful. She's a fool. I don't know how she got reelected. She's a moron. And now she's making news again. Why is Kim Foxx making news? Because Kim Foxx, in all of her wisdom, has decided to drop all state charges against R. Kelly in the sex abuse and rape charges. She's dropping them all. We're just, you know what? He seems like a good boy. No, she probably just wants to hang out with R. Kelly. You're too old for him, Kim. I'm just telling you. A judge has dismissed sex abuse charges against R&B singer R. Kelly on Tuesday based on the recommendation of a Chicago prosecutor. The hearing lasted just minutes and came a day after Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx said she was comfortable dropping the case because Kelly will spend decades in prison for separate convictions in federal court. When has that ever been done before? When has, because, they've already got him on federal charges, so we're just going to let this guy go. That doesn't happen. The state still goes through with their charges, and then they tack on whatever jail time he gets for that onto whatever he got for... The hearing lasted just minutes, came after Kim Fox said she was comfortable dropping the cases on R. Kelly. Kelly was awaiting trial on state charges of sexually abusing 4 people in the Chicago area. So those victims don't get any justice. Those particular victims that he abused here in Chicago, or there in Chicago, they get no justice because what? Because Kim Fox wants to hang out with R. Kelly and his entourage? He's in prison, Kim! I don't get it. Federal juries in Chicago and New York have convicted Kelly of a raft of crimes, including child pornography, enticement, racketeering, and sex trafficking related to allegations that he victimized women and girls. All right, so that's why Kim Fox is trending. She's the worst. She is the absolute worst. She just won every time she's in the news. It's because she has done something. And I'm a pretty moderate guy, man. I'm pretty much in the middle. Well, she's wrong about everything all the time, consistently, and she's going to get reelected. How does this happen? No idea. Trump is trending. Former President Trump is trending. He's suing Bob Woodward. Bob Woodward, of course, Woodward and Bernstein. The Watergate guys, considered 2 of the greatest journalists in the history. I don't know if that's true, but they certainly did. There was a big case for them, and they became famous very young, and they've been milking that for years. Former President Donald Trump is suing journalist Bob Woodward for releasing recordings of interviews that he gave to the journalist in 2019 and 2020, claiming he never agreed to those tapes being shared with the public. Oh, God, more of these ridiculous, not a chance in hell of winning. I don't know why he's bringing these charges. When you sit down with a journalist, when you agree to an interview with a journalist, and that journalist pulls out his tape recorder, as is the norm, and hits record, why is he recording that? He's recording that because he wants to get everything that you said absolutely right, so that when he writes his story, he can then go back and he can listen to the tape. Those tapes, those recordings, time and time again, for 50 years, have been upheld in court as here's the problem. Trump, when he knew there was a recording, and he's not even saying I was secretly recorded, because that's a different thing. No, Trump is saying that the recordings that were used during the interview that then went on to become a book that he knew about was going to be a book are now somehow not right to be released. Well, the transcripts all appeared in the book. This is so stupid. This is just one of those, it's going to get thrown out. It's just Trump and his crazy lawyers just bringing charge. This is not something that is a thing. It's not a thing. When you are a journalist and somebody accepts an interview and they sit down and you start recording that interview, those tapes, there is no reasonable expectation of privacy on the part of the interview subject. There is zero. And that has been upheld in court a million times. This will not even see court. A judge will get it and go, but he agreed to the interview. Yeah. And this is the result of the interview. Yeah. And he doesn't like that he released the tapes, but it did come out in a book. Oh yeah, it came out in a book years ago. Saw the information's already out in a book that he agreed to, and the tapes were recorded in front of him. He knew it. It's silly. But anyway, that's trending. There's also, I don't do a lot of Trump because he's so divisive, but there's also something about Stormy Daniels going around that I don't know what that's about. I don't, I see Biden, and I ignore that, and I see Trump, and I ignore that. I'm like, just stop it. But this is funny, as an old kid from journalism school, this story just bugged me. I'm like, what? You can't do that. When you sit down, when you agree to the interview and you sit down and the interview is recorded, there is no expectation that anything that you say that's recorded in that moment is to remain private, especially when you're speaking to Bob Woodward. Graceland is trending today. Graceland. I'm banned for life from Graceland. Although this might be good news on that front. Graceland, Elvis Presley's home in Memphis, Tennessee. Here's why Graceland is trending. Because Lisa Marie Presley was in charge of Graceland. It was hers. Elvis, when he died, in his will, he left Graceland and all the property and Elvis Presley Enterprises and all that stuff to his only daughter, Lisa Marie Presley. And, that's how Lisa Marie Presley, that's where the Elvis money comes from. I mean, Elvis probably Still makes $100 million a year, especially this year. Oh my God, because of the Elvis movie and all the newfound interest, the younger generations listening to Elvis on Spotify and all that, the mythology of Elvis being rekindled because of this movie. I mean, Graceland may have had a couple of down years, but even in a down year, the Elvis Presley estate probably rakes in $100 million. It's a very, very valuable prospect or property is what I'm saying about Graceland and Elvis Presley Entertainment. So the question became, after Lisa Marie Presley's death, who's in charge? Where does that go? Where does it go? Well, it's been revealed today. Graceland has confirmed. This is Graceland themselves. I didn't know a house could talk, but Graceland has confirmed who's inheriting Elvis Presley's estate following Lisa Marie's death. Guess who's now in charge of Graceland? Riley Keough. That's right. Young up-and-coming Hollywood actress Riley Keough, who I think is just terrific. And I love that she's not an actress. I love that her name isn't Riley Presley Keough, right? She's just Riley Keough. Nobody knows who Riley Keough is. And then you're like, it's Elvis's granddaughter. You're like, what? Really? That's Elvis Presley's granddaughter? Yeah, it's Lisa Marie's daughter. Really? Riley Keough? How come it's not Riley Presley Keough? Because she's got Elvis money. And she wanted to make it on her own, because even if she didn't make it on her own, she's got Elvis money. So anyway, that's who's getting it. Riley Keough and her two sister or brothers. Is it sisters or brothers? I'm not sure. With their kids, whatever. They're just little kids. So Elvis Presley. Where's the story? We don't need to go into it. Anyway, another interesting thing about Riley Keough, Elvis's granddaughter, who is now in charge of Graceland. By the way, I'll be penning a strongly worded letter to her to see if I can get back into Graceland, having been banned for life by the previous regime. I'll see if maybe she wants to let me in, since I am such a big fan of hers. I really think that Riley Keough is great. I think that she's going to be a movie star. And here's what also is interesting about Riley Keough. When you know that she's Elvis's granddaughter, you see Elvis. You see like her eyes and like her expressions and all that. You're like, yeah, I totally see it now. I can totally see Elvis in her. All right, here we go. You're just going to take my childhood and you're going to rip it out through its guts, one death at a time, huh? Is that how the world works as we get older? That's what happens? The world lost a biggie. The world lost a good one yesterday, folks. The world lost the irreplaceable Shirley Feeney. Shirley Feeney. 5, 6, 7, 8, Schlemiel, Schlemazel, Hasselpfeffer Incorporated. We're going to do it. We're going to make it. Whatever. Laverne and Shirley. Cindy Williams, the actress who played Shirley Feeney, who was... Okay, here's the thing with Laverne and Shirley. I don't recall there ever being a Ginger or Mary Ann debate between Laverne and Shirley, right? I mean, neither of them were, they were just a great team. They were just a funny team, right? But I like Shirley better. I like Shirley. Shirley was the nice one. Laverne DeFazio kind of had an edge. Like Laverne DeFazio, she'd throw down, but Shirley Feeney was like the nice one. She was like sort of the more mousy one. Laverne and Shirley actress Cindy Williams has died at 75 years old. Cindy Williams, who was among the most recognizable stars in America in the 1970s and 80s for her role as Shirley Feeney opposite Penny Marshall's Laverne DeFazio on the beloved sitcom Laverne and Shirley, has died. She was 75. Williams died in Los Angeles on Wednesday after an illness. Her children, Zach and Emily Hudson, said in a statement released on Monday through family spokesperson Liza Kranis. The passing of our kind, hilarious mother, Cindy Williams, has brought us insurmountable sadness that could never truly be expressed. Knowing and loving her has been our joy and privilege. She was one of a kind, beautiful, generous, and possessed a brilliant sense of humor and a glittering spirit that everyone loved. Williams worked with some of Hollywood's most elite directors in a film career that preceded her full-time move to television. She appeared in George Cukor's 1972 film Travels with My Aunt. She was in George Lucas's 1973 American Graffiti and Francis Ford Coppola's The Conversation from 1974. But she was by far best known for Laverne and Shirley, the Happy Days spinoff that ran on ABC from 76 to 83, that in its prime was among the most popular shows on TV. Williams played the straight-laced Shirley Feeney to Marshall's more libertine Laverne DeFazio on the show about a pair of blue-collar roommates who toiled on the assembly line of a Milwaukee brewery in the 1950s and 60s. They were beloved characters, Williams told the Associated Press in 2002. DeFazio was quick-tempered and defensive. Feeney was naive and trusting. The actors drew upon their own lives for plot inspiration. Okay, so, obviously, Laverne and Shirley was a big show for me. It's like, I didn't have a lot going on. I was like 7 or 6 years old. I don't know. I didn't have a whole lot going on. I liked Happy Days. This was the show that came on after Happy Days, so I liked it. They're all dead. They're all dead, except for Lenny. Michael. Lenny? Come on, who's Lenny? What's that guy's name? I can't think of his name. Chat room, help me. Lenny's the only one alive. Squiggy's dead. David. Can't think of his name now. Whatever. I'm getting old. Carmine's dead. The big ragu. Eddie Mecca. Eddie Mecca died, right? Isn't he dead? He died like a couple years ago, I think. Eddie Mecca, the big ragu. He died. Of course, Penny Marshall died. Laverne. And now Cindy's gone. So Michael, that's not Michael Keehan. It's Michael McKeon. Jeff. Thanks, Jeff. Nice try. Swing and a miss. No points for that. It's not Michael Keehan. It's Michael McKeon. But thank you. You got me there. You got me there with the Keehan. So that's, it's not sad. She was 75. That's still a little young, but, she was sick and she's probably in pain, and God bless her health. She seemed like a nice lady, is all I'm saying. Here you go. We got to spend a minute here to talk about this. What's going on here in Dallas, guys? What's going on? What's going on at the Dallas Zoo, guys? What is happening here? How are animals just escaping or being stolen from the Dallas Zoo on a regular basis now? We had a situation a couple weeks ago where there was like a leopard that was on was it a leopard or a cougar or whatever? I don't know what it was. It was some cat. There was a cat. There was a cheetah, maybe. I don't know. Cheetah was out there running around. And they're like, we don't know. And then it just reappeared. It's like, yeah, the fence was cut, but we got her back. 2 tamarin monkeys are believed to have been taken from the Dallas Zoo. They're missing monkeys now. Monkeys are now. People stealing these things and selling them on the black market. The Dallas Zoo says 2 emperor tamarin monkeys are missing, and that there's clear evidence the animal habitats were tampered with and that they may have been taken. On Monday afternoon, the zoo said 2 of their emperor tamarin monkeys were missing and that the habitat had been intentionally compromised. The zoo said emperor tamarin monkeys would likely stay close to home, but that after searching near the habitat on Monday, the animals were not located. Well, I don't know where emperor tamarin monkeys are from, but this is not good weather for emperor tamarin monkeys to be running around South Dallas. It's just not. So they better find them, or they better hope they're in, I don't know, some dude's garage in Oak Cliff. Hey, if you have the tamarin monkeys in your garage in Oak Cliff, put a blanket over the cage or whatever you got them in, because seriously, this is not good weather for these animals. Because the investigation into the zoo's disappearance is ongoing, the zoo was unable to provide any other information about the missing tamarins or the unprecedented series of events that have focused national attention on the Dallas Zoo in recent weeks. I ain't going to the Dallas Zoo anymore. But Fort Worth Zoo is better anyway, right? Do we all agree with this? The Fort Worth Zoo is superior to the Dallas Zoo. It's like in Chicago, we got the Brookfield Zoo and the Lincoln Park Zoo, right? The Lincoln Park Zoo is a destination, and it's really nice because it's on the lake and it's beautiful. But if you really want a zoo, you got to go out to Brookfield. You got to go to the Brookfield Zoo. That's a freaking zoo. That's kind of like what Fort Worth and Dallas is, right? Fort Worth Zoo is like world class, and then the Dallas Zoo is like, it's good for Dallas. That's kind of, so I don't trust going to the Dallas Zoo now. I don't trust that a bear isn't just going to start walking down and walk up to the concession stand. Is that a bear? Nah, it's probably a guy in a suit. No, that's a bear. It's the fourth suspicious incident at the zoo since the start of the new year. Well, somebody made a New Year's resolution and they are sticking to it. And on some level, we need to applaud that kind of commitment. It's the fourth suspicious incident at the zoo since the start of the new year. The first involving a clouded leopard, Nova, who escaped her enclosure after police discovered it had been intentionally cut. As Dallas police opened a criminal investigation, zoo staff members the next day found a similar intentional cut on the enclosure that houses the Langer monkeys. All of them were accounted for. Most recently, an endangered vulture was found dead with an unusual wound. Zoo officials said Dallas police. What's an unusual wound? I don't remember that story. That happened over a weekend when we weren't doing shows because it seems like I would have covered that. What is that one? All right, so this is the dead vulture story. Dallas police are investigating the suspicious death of an endangered vulture found deceased in his habitat at the Dallas Zoo on Saturday morning. There you go, Saturday morning. We weren't doing a show. According to officials with the Dallas Zoo, Pin, an endangered lapped-faced vulture, was found deceased in an enclosure at the Wilds of Africa habitat with an apparent wound. Zoo officials said the wound makes Pin's death suspicious. Zoo officials declined to go into further detail. Okay, then I'm not reading the rest of the story. If you're not going to go into further detail, I don't need your conjecture. I don't need. But what is going on at the Dallas Zoo, man? Lock that place down. Shit ain't working. Well, whatever security is, it's not working. Batman is trending. So, you guys, I might be a little bit on the time behind on this one because there was just a big announcement that was made just as I was signing on. Batman is trending. Apparently, DC is having some big announcement thing today. I may have missed it. I know that I saw one of the stories that was circulating that they said that Ezra Miller, who plays the Flash, is it Ezra Miller? Ezra, what's his name? Is that him? I don't know. Whatever. You know that guy who's always getting in trouble when he plays the Flash, and everybody's like, he can't play the Flash anymore. Yeah, he can. Yeah, apparently they're going to stick with him. They're going to stick with that dude as the Flash. At least that's what they're saying. They say that they will not make a decision on whether or not Ezra Miller remains as the Flash. Oh, sorry. Until after because it's one of those deals. One of those deals where Flash is a guy or a girl. I don't know. It's them. Flash is of them. They're not going to make any decision on whether or not Ezra will continue playing the Flash until after they finish their rehab. They're in rehab for craziness. It sounds like he's just crazy. I don't know that all of the shit that they got into trouble for over the past year can just be easily attributed to somebody who likes to drink or likes to do, some drugs. I think there's some mental issues. I think it's going to be a little bit longer process than just simply a little 30-day outpatient. Anyway, Batman. James Gunn, who is taking over the DC universe, which is so cool because look, I understand this war between like DC and Marvel. Like I get that Marvel has been wildly more successful in recent years than DC, but I'm a DC guy. I mean, I grew up when I grew up. I'm sorry. I never even looked at a Marvel comic book my entire life. Marvel was not something that I was interested in. I mean, yeah, I knew Spider-Man and I knew that, but I was like Batman, Superman, the Justice League, that was the stuff that I was into. So I'm very, very encouraged about the news that broke a few months back that James Gunn will be taking over the entire DC universe because James Gunn does good stuff. And James Gunn is now in charge of all DC universe decisions. And they're making some big announcements today. One of the big announcements that was made was that the Robert Pattinson Batman, the Batman movie that came out last year, which, by the way, got snubbed for everything at the Oscars, which is crazy because at the very least, that film was shot beautifully. That film, I mean, what is that, a cinematography award? How that movie doesn't get nominated for cinematography. It is just a beautiful looking film. Dark, moody, noir, very, very cool. Very cool. James Gunn announced and DC announced that they don't know what they're doing with Batman. That the last Batman movie, The Batman, starring Robert Pattinson, it might be a standalone. It might be that might be non-canon, if you will. That might be they want to reboot the Batman franchise, and they don't know. They don't know if they're going to go with that. They don't know if they're going to go with Robert Pattinson. They might do a new Batman. It might be a whole new kind of thing. Whatever. Anyway, also they said but that doesn't mean that like Robert Pattinson will never play Batman again. We might now kind of do some spin-offs from that movie, but again, they would be non-canon. They would be a little bit different kind of a vibe. They've also said that they're probably going to go, or at least this was the speculation. It was Bautista, who made a statement saying that they need to replace Superman. Now, I don't know why Bautista, who is in the Guardians of the Galaxy, a Marvel product, wait, is Bautista also DC? Does Bautista have a foot in both worlds? I don't know. Anyway, he said that Superman's got to be younger. They got to find a younger Superman. Superman is my favorite. Superman, screw your Iron Man, screw your Batman, screw your Superman, or not Superman, Spider-Man. Superman is my guy. Superman is, nobody can beat Superman. Shut up. I'm not having this argument. I've spent, 13 years arguing with my son about how nobody can beat. What about Dr. Optimus? Screw Dr. Optimus. Superman comes from another planet. He's a god. What about Thor? Superman comes from a better planet than Thor. At least that's my argument. They got to fix Superman. DC's got to fix Superman. And I don't know. I'll tell you what I like. I like the Black Angry Superman. I like Dark Superman that was introduced at the end of Justice League. Pissed off Superman. Superman who's still pissed because of the whole situation with Batman versus Superman, where Batman beat Superman. That's the big argument between me and my 13-year-old. They had a movie, Dad, and Batman beat Superman. Okay, son, let me explain to you how movies work. Of course, Batman had to beat Superman in that movie because everybody going into that movie knows that Superman could just destroy Batman in an instant. So where would the payoff be? The whole M. Night Shyamalan Sixth Sense reveal of that movie was that Batman would end up winning. Well, he still won. All right, kid. All right. And this is where we get into the 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10 fights between Batman and Superman. Superman, before Batman gets anywhere near the kryptonite that he used to defeat Batman, which, by the way, is cheating, but okay, that's all right. All's fair in love and war and fights between superheroes. Before he could even get anywhere near the kryptonite, Superman would just do the eye laser thing and evaporate Batman. It's not even close. Well, Batman's got armor that could protect him from... No. Batman's armor can't protect him from Superman's eyeball laser space things. There's no way. Stop it. So anyway, I don't know what the deal is. Maybe you guys do in the chat room. Maybe this is... Because it's all been breaking since I signed on. But there's a whole bunch of DC news coming out today. Who's the new Batman going to be? I don't know. I think Donald Glover. Time for a black Superman. I would like to see Donald Glover as Black Superman. I think that'd be cool. Actually, I don't really care. I don't care who it is. Sylvester Stallone and Pam Anderson are trending. Sylvester Stallone and Pam Anderson are trending because last week we talked about the revelation in the new Pam Anderson book, the forthcoming book about Pam Anderson's, or is it out now? I think it's still forthcoming. I think this is all hype for the book release. Last week we did the story that Pam Anderson revealed that before she was like a big famous stand-on-her-own actress, Sylvester Stallone was like, hey, I'll pay for everything if you just be my sex girl. Right? That was what she's putting in the book. But yeah, Sylvester Stallone approached me when I was, just a model in Hollywood. And he said if I just had regular sex with him, he would support me. Well, Stallone is now saying, nah, that's not it. He's saying Sylvester Stallone denies Pamela Anderson's claim that he offered her to be his number one girl. Sylvester Stallone, the Hollywood actor, has denied Pamela Anderson's claim that he once asked her to be his number one girl. Canadian-American actress and model Pamela Anderson is making headlines these days due to her upcoming Netflix documentary, Pamela, A Love Story. In it, the Baywatch actress discusses personal experiences. One of the claims she made was that Hollywood superstar Sylvester Stallone once asked her to be his number one girl and offered her a condo, a Porsche, and a monthly stipend. How do you not take that? I mean, how do you not take that? I'm sorry. It's not Don Rickles offering. You know, it's not like Don Rickles isn't like, I'll give you a condo and a Porsche and a monthly stipend and you got to have sex. No, it's Sylvester Stallone in 1992. You know how many women would have given him a condo and a, you know what I mean? He was like a desirable guy and she was a struggling actress and there's no harm, no foul there. It's an exchange. She might have fallen in love with him. She might have liked him. If these accoutrements come with a relationship with Sylvester, I don't have a problem with this. However, a representative for Stallone firmly denied Anderson's claim in a statement. The statement from Pamela Anderson attributed to my client is false and fabricated. Mr. Stallone confirms that he never made any portion of that statement. Well, here's the thing. She's comfortable enough putting it in a book, and everybody said, that you can't just put anything in a book. No, you can't. You can't just put anything in a book. You have to be fairly comfortable that if you put that in the book, you're going to be able to knock it down in court some way. And by the way, the book writer is also surrounded by lawyers who are like, okay, about that story right there. You're going to put that story in there? And she's like, yeah. So how can you prove it? Here's how I prove it. And then the lawyers are like, okay, then it can go in there. So it's a he said, she said. That's nothing new. Pamela claims that she turned Stallone down, saying, and I was like, does that mean there's no number two? She wanted to know. She said with a laugh in the documentary, as per the New York Post. She later added, Stallone, he goes, that's the best offer you're going to get, honey. You're in Hollywood now. But I wanted to be in love. I didn't want anything less than that. I buy that. She was in love with Tommy. You know, you can't deny that. Those two idiots, you know, they're like, I love you, baby. It's like, I love you, Tommy. I love you. Let's make out. I mean, they're total morons, both of them. That love was like weird idiot love, right? It's like look at the two hot idiots making out. That's all that was. Hey, who wants to watch two hot idiots have sex on video? That's all Pam and Tommy Lee were, two hot idiots. But she was in love. She was definitely in love. I totally buy that she loved him madly. And he loved her. I love you, baby. I love you, Tommy. But they were just such morons. Especially when you consider they weren't children. They were like in their mid to late 20s. And they're still acting like high school sophomores. I love you. No, you hang up. No, you hang up. Whatever. Look at this. We're going on day 3 now of one of these things trending. This was trending on Twitter. It's also trending on Google. And there's a story here that I pulled off MSN. This is not going away, and I could not be happier for Linda Ronstadt is trending again and still. This time, long time, the actual song is trending. Long time was the episode of The Last of Us that aired on Sunday on HBO. The Last of Us is a new HBO excuse me, is a new HBO Max series. I think it's also on HBO. I don't know. Does anybody still have HBO, or is it all just the app? I don't know. Episode 3 of The Last of Us featured the Linda Ronstadt song Long Time, and it featured it beautifully. And I've seen a number of people. I don't feel. Yesterday I said it may in fact be the most moving and beautiful standalone episode of television that I've ever seen. And that's the reason the song is trending, because everybody was freaking moved by this. And I'll also tell you this. I will say this to you, because I watched it again last night. I needed to watch it again. I was like, I just need this. That deserves a second watch. So I watched episode 3, long time, of The Last of Us last night. And now you might be one of these people who are, I'm not going to watch a show that's about a zombie apocalypse. That sounds stupid. That's fine. I totally get that. I'm with you there. And I made it through 5 seasons of The Walking Dead and I went, I get it. I get what's going on here. I never went back. So any aversion, thinking like you're going to have preconceived notions of what that is. I can tell you that it's not that. It's actually very good. I mean, everything HBO does is very good. It's very good. But here's the thing, and they did this so smartly. Episode 3, the one that everybody is talking about, long time, featuring, starring Nick Offerman, from Parks and Rec, Ron Swanson. Episode 3, starring Nick Offerman, long time, can be viewed standalone. You do not have to, like, if you want to watch that episode, you do not have to watch episode 1 of The Last of Us, episode 2 of The Last of Us, and then roll into episode 3. I mean, you can if you want to watch the entire series, but you could pull that episode 3 out and only watch that. And it's because it deviates from the first 2 episodes. It's a completely new story that's introduced. There's exposition on all the characters. You learn everything you need to know about the focus of that particular episode. So if you're like, wow, why is everybody talking about this zombie series? I don't want to watch a zombie series. Just watch episode 3. It's 118 minutes. Or so it's like was it? It's an hour and 18 minutes. That's what it is. Yeah, it's an hour and 18 minutes. So it's almost like a movie. It's like a standalone movie, episode 3. So if you're wondering, why are all these people talking about this zombie story being beautiful and moving and people are all crying and now this 50-year-old Linda Ronstadt song is rocketing up the charts? You can watch just that episode. So if you have HBO Max and you don't want to commit yourself to the whole thing, you can just simply watch that 3rd episode, long time. And now episode 4 is probably going to go back to the storyline that was created in episode 1 and episode 2. But episode 3, this particular episode, it's totally fine. You can watch it on your own. It's a fully encapsulated story. So why is Linda Ronstadt in long time trending again on all platforms? Linda Ronstadt is having her Kate Bush moment. Remember Kate Bush running up that hill? Recharted after Stranger Things featured it. Running Up That Hill, a song from like 1984, 1985, somewhere in there. Recharted over the summer, and every like teenager was like, Kate Bush is great. I'm like, she's your grandma's age. You know that, right? You know Kate Bush is your grandma's age. Linda Ronstadt is having her Kate Bush moment after streams of her song Long Time have majorly spiked following Sunday's episode of HBO's The Last of Us. Linda Ronstadt, that's not true. That's the 1979 tune played a pivotal part in the third. It's a 1970 tune. Hold on. That song's from 1970. That song. Again, editors, how they fired all the editors because people don't need to read complete sentences. So now, hold on. People magazine. People magazine claim. No, it was released in 1970. It's a 1970 song. The long time was released in 1970. People magazine for their stories. The 1979 song. No, it wasn't. I'm like, no. By 1979, she was doing more rocky stuff. Not Rocky the film, but like more rock oriented stuff. Like it's so easy to fall in love. She was doing more of that kind of stuff by 1979. But by 1970s, she had just come out of the Stone Ponies. She was still considered a folk and country singer. And this song is, anyway, the 1979 tune, according to People magazine, it's a 1970 tune. The 1970 tune played a pivotal part in the 3rd episode of HBO's acclaimed series, which focused on the surprising love story between post-apocalyptic survivors Nick Offerman and Murray Bartlett. By Monday, streams of the rock icon's tune on Spotify had increased by 5,000%. Woo! That's similar to how Running Up That Hill, Bush's 1985 song, catapulted globally after being featured in season 4 of the Netflix series. Also, on the iHeart pop charts, iTunes. On the iTunes pop charts, Long Time by Linda Ronstadt wasn't in the top 2,000 songs on iTunes. It is currently sitting at number 2. number 2. It is the number 2 most downloaded song on iTunes in the world at the moment. So good for her. And this is really good because Linda Ronstadt is probably not going to be with us for very much longer. Linda Ronstadt suffers from Parkinson's disease, which is another reason why, I mean, there's so many multiple levels as to why this song was beautiful. Because in the episode, someone is dying of Parkinson's disease, and they use her song, a woman who is also dying of Parkinson's disease. Anyway, it's just, let's see here. Okay, I don't want to give away any spoilers. No spoilers. The Last of Us director and executive producer Craig Mazin told Variety that his friend and Sirius XM host Seth Rudetsky suggested the song when he was mulling over songs for his 2 characters to connect over. The director says, I knew that song needed to hit certain things about longing and aching and endlessly unrequited love, he told the outlet. I could not find the right song for the life of me. I was trying. And then I texted my friend Seth, who is the host of Sirius XM on Broadway and a savant when it comes to music. I told him, here's all the things I need. And 2 seconds later, Linda Ronstadt's Long, Long Time was sent to me. I was like, there it is. That's it. Long, Long Time is featured on Ronstadt's Silk Purse album and was originally released in 1970. Oh, now they got it. They got it now. Originally, they said 79, but 1970. Tragically, Ronstadt hasn't been able to sing in over a decade. She was diagnosed in 2013 with progressive supranuclear palsy, a neurological condition similar to Parkinson's disease that impacts her movements and cognition. I sing in my brain, Ronstadt said on the Today Show in 2022. It's not quite the same sometimes. I choose the song, and sometimes my brain chooses the song. Sometimes my brain chooses the worst music, like really bad Christmas songs. In 2019, Ronstadt spoke to people about her health decline and the loss of her beautiful vocal instrument. She said, it felt like something was wrong, but I couldn't tell what it was, she said, describing her initial symptoms. First, I thought it was my headphone mix. Then I thought it was the microphone. Then I thought some frequencies were just missing from my voice. It got slowly and steadily worse. Okay, so there you have it. Anyway, it's very good. She's a lovely woman. She's an incredibly talented vocalist, one of the greatest female singers of all time. Just a voice of an angel, to be true. And she's going through some really rough stuff. And this is probably a really nice end of life kind of moment for Linda Ronstadt. So there you go. That's why Long, Long Time is trending. I don't know if you'd hear it on the radio. Like, what radio station would play that? I bet country would, because it's kind of country-ish. I don't know. Here we go. Dodo birds. You know what dodo birds are? No, of course not, because they've been dead for like a couple hundred years. Dodo birds are extinct, and dodo birds are coming back. Oh, here's the can of worms. We're opening up this can of worms here. Apparently, they're remaking dodo birds. They have figured out through genetic gene splicing and stuff. I don't know how they do it. I'm not a scientist, but scientists launch project to de-extinct the dodo and reintroduce it to its natural habitat. Dude, you guys, dodo birds are the minute they can we eat them? You know what a dodo bird looks like? Here, let show you what a dodo bird is. They want to bring these things back. They're like a prehistoric bird. They're like crazy, weird looking birds. All right, show me what a dodo bird looks like. All right, that's a cute one. I'm gonna do the cute one. I'll do the cute dodo bird because some of them aren't cute. Here you go. They want to bring this guy back. They want the big giant beak. Let's see what else we got. Oh, look at him. See what I mean? That's why I went with the cute one. They ain't good. They ain't a good looking animal. I can see why they went extinct. Nobody wants to bang a dodo bird. Okay, so that's probably a more realistic look of what it is. The phrase dead as a dodo may be, well, dead as a dodo. Thank you.
Colossal Bioscience, founded in 2021 by entrepreneur Ben Lamb and Harvard geneticist George Church, announced on Tuesday that it plans to resurrect and rewild the dodo, the iconic flightless bird that has become a powerful symbol of extinction after it was rapidly wiped out as a result of human interference. Colossal is already working on efforts to de-extinct the woolly mammoth and the thylacine, aka the Tasmanian tiger. Okay, so these people are just bringing all kinds of things back. All right, so when the streets are overrun with T-Rexes, it'll be these guys that we can blame. This is very Jurassic Park vibes, and we know exactly how all that went down. So anyway, enjoy. They're bringing the dodo back. Okay, so homeschooling. Y'all like the homeschooling, don't ya? Well, guess what? Guess what? One of the fastest rising curriculum in among people who choose to homeschool their kids are. You ready for this? Sure. Public schools are bad. Let the parents educate the kids. Nazism. White supremacy is actually, there's somebody, here, I'll tell you the story. All right. Ohio superintendent condemns neo-Nazi homeschooling curriculum reportedly used by many families throughout the state. So there's like these Nazis, and they've created a homeschooling curriculum that all of these parents who are homeschooling their kids, because I don't want them learning critical race theory, they're going to learn Nazi shit instead. The school superintendent of an Ohio city where neo-Nazi themed homeschooling curriculum is reportedly being used widely and shared online says his district vehemently condemns any such resources. The allegations are egregious. Here's all that needs to happen. The state educational system simply needs to not recognize children who were given these kinds of educations. Sorry. Yeah. But the parents, shut up and sit down. No, you don't get an actual diploma through the state. There's no way. Really? So you've got revisionist history of the Holocaust and all of it. You don't know anything about. Anyway, I don't want to go into it. But yeah, there you go. For someone of my generation, I grew up in the 80s. I honestly do think that it's because these younger people who are alive today, they weren't raised by grandparents who fought in World War II. They weren't raised by people who had a really solid idea of what Nazism was. Not this newfangled, modern thing. It's still bad. But I think that's I could not ever imagine that my brain doesn't work. Nazi equates immediately with some of the most evil philosophy that the world has ever known, certainly in the modern world. How is it that there are 18, 19-year-old kids out there who will go, and Hitler had some good ideas, to quote Bobby Hull? Anyway, I'm going to go into that. Here's a funny story, and we're going to end on this one. This is the last one of the day. We'll jump into the Twitter stuff and see what's happening with Twitter. So a beverage cart girl at a fancy California, what do we call it? Fancy California what? Fancy California golf course, country club. They have beverage cart girls. An ex-beverage cart girl alleges sexual harassment by wealthy club members. I mean, this is almost an adorable story. A California woman is suing a swanky golf club, alleging that she was sexually assaulted, propositioned, forced to drink alcohol, and take drugs while working as a beverage cart attendant. Peyton Stover, 26, is seeking more than $15 million from the Old Ranch Country Club in Seal Beach, a coastal city south of Los Angeles, where she was hired in 2019. So here's the thing. I just mentioned because beverage cart. I don't golf. As a matter of fact, I will sit on a golf cart and drink some beer and basically just heckle the people I'm out there with, asking them to check your prostate. Did you take your heart medication? I mean, because it just seems like such a lame, and I don't want to do it. I'm not good at it. You just say that because you're not good at it. No, I'm not. I'm not good at it because I don't want to waste the time practicing it. I hate golf. I hate the whole vibe of golf. I don't like country clubs. I do like eating in country clubs. I like the food. I like that whole thing. But I don't want to be a member of some I don't want to. It's just not my thing. But I have known a number of the beverage cart girls on golf courses. I guess now it makes total sense. When are they gonna? I mean, based on the way the modern world is, no job gets treated more like a piece of meat than a girl who is selling ice cold beer on the ninth hole of some swanky country club. These guys, I mean, sexual harassment, yeah. Yeah, that's all they do. Hey, baby, give me a little shake. I have been at golf outings where they literally hired strippers and prostitutes to be the beverage cart girls. Oh, don't get me started on the stuff that guys do on the golf course, especially at golf outings. It's appalling. And I'm not a prude. You're kind of a prude. All right, I'm kind of a prude. But Peyton Stover, 26, she's seeking $15 million. Her lawsuit filed in Orange County Superior Court names the defendants as former supervisor James Poper, manager Michael Queen, and the club's parent company, Club Corp. Stover moved from Washington State to join the 120-acre golf club as a beverage cart attendant. And they always dress, but they're always wearing bikini tops and like short shorts, and they work for tips. I mean, it's the same sort of thing as Hooters. Like, Hooters girls are working for tips and they want to flirt with you and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, it's just like, why are you talking to her like that? She's a beverage cart girl. I'm allowed to talk to her like that. Give me a little shake, baby. And then they throw a crinkled up 20 at her. They make good money. But, but things got off to a troubling start when Popper asked during the interview whether she had thick skin and could keep her mouth shut about what goes on the golf course. I'm telling you. Oh, my. Now I'm looking at pictures of her. Yeah, this girl is not faring well. This girl is not faring well with a bunch of half-in-the-bag dentists who are out there. Let me show you. Should we look at her? This is the girl they were harassing. As my old producer Bobby would say, never saw it coming. That's a reference to a story. They separated these two. There was a story back in the Pugs and Kelly days that we were talking about where two conjoined twins were like attached at the main organs, and they were flown to Duke University Medical Center, and they were in surgery for a couple of days, and they separated the twins, and they both died. It was a very dangerous operation, and everybody knew that this was like a very strong possibility that these twins were going to die. So a couple of days after talking about the story, when it was announced that they died, our producer Bobby was like, "Man, that's rough." What's the matter, Bobby? He's like, "I don't know, man. I just never saw it coming." What is the whole point of them being rushed into surgery was that we all saw it coming, was that this was a very dangerous operation. I don't know, man. I just never saw it coming. All right, let me show you this girl. Let me show you. This is the girl who's bringing the charges. And all I can say is, knowing the kind of D-bag who goes out and golfs and harasses beverage cart girls. All right, so there she is right here. Let's go right here. Come on, there we go. There she is right there. Look at her. Doesn't she look nice? She looks nice. She's a nice girl. It's a nice girl next door. How? They're harassing her? No, they're not harassing her. They're harassing her. That's another picture of her. They're harassing her. They're harassing her. She's a beautiful woman. She's a beautiful young woman. She's probably dressed in, what's it matter how she dressed? It doesn't matter for her, and it doesn't excuse the behavior of the men, but the way she was dressed triggered the men into being pigs, and that's what happens. What? She can't dress that way? She can dress any way she wants, but she also has to make an allowance in her mind for the way pigmen will react to the way she dresses. See, this isn't just she gets to act or dress the way she wants, and then everybody has to completely change 2,000 years of masculine energy. See, that's not going to change. You dress that way. Look, me, and people I hang around with, you dress any way you want. We're not going to be like, "Ooh, baby, hubba, hubba." But that is not how a lot of other men act. So, oh, she can't dress that way? Why are Hooters girls dressed that way? Because it's comfortable? No, it's not. They're dressed that way for tips. So, she made choices. My whole point on this story is I'm surprised this hasn't happened before. I mean, beverage cart, or maybe it has. Maybe it has. Country clubs seem like the kind of environment where when a story like this comes up, like some beverage cart girl at some random country club gets, some drunk judge plays a little grab ass with the 22-year-old beverage cart girl, that probably gets handled quietly. That probably gets handled with a check in the president of the club's office. And so, yeah, she's making it public. She's going to tell all the secrets of how dudes behave at golf outings and on golf courses. You women, why do you think men always want to go out? Go to golf. We're going to golf it every Saturday. It's because it's like, 4 hours in an afternoon where men can just be complete pigs. And that's what happens on a golf course. Now, I am not averse to being a complete pig. I just don't like to golf. I don't like to golf. What else do we have here? You know what? I think that's it. I think that's it as far as like the primary stories that we'll cover today. Got another show tonight coming up at 9 o'clock. Myself and James Parker. It's Pugs and Parker Pillow Talk. We do that every Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Conversation about the day's news, the day's subjects, whatever it is that James and I want to get into. This show, I like to say, more utilitarian. I give you all the things that are happening in the world, all the things people are talking about. I give you headlines, hot topics, current events, all that stuff. We still kind of do that a little bit on the 9 o'clock show. But if James and I just get into a crazy conversation about something, which something came up. Oh, by the way, I need to apologize to you guys. If you guys were watching Pillow Talk last night, you noticed that the show just stopped like in mid-sentence. Now, it stopped at 10 o'clock when it normally ends. So it's not like you got screwed out of a show. But James and I were wrapping up, and then all of a sudden the show went down. Why? Because James hit the wrong button. See, remember my problem? I'm like, James now has control to be able to, monitor, because I can't do all these things at once. So James is like in charge of putting up chat room comments and all that kind of stuff. And I was very concerned. I said, James, I don't like giving up power to you like this, but I like what he's doing, so it's fine. And then on day 2 of this new experiment, what does he do? He accidentally hits end show. He should not have that power. He should not have that power. He fucked up on his second day of having this responsibility. So I apologize, but you didn't miss anything. We were wrapping up in the last minute of the show before James screwed up. All right, let's see. What is trending to Dizzy? Let's see here. Fifth Amendment is trending. That can't be good. DC Studios is trending. Okay, so what's the latest? I talked about this. Did they make all of their announcements? Okay. All right. You know what? Maybe this is a thing. Let's see. We'll watch this. This appears to be James Gunn. Hey, wasn't he canceled? Didn't James Gunn get canceled? What's going on with James Gunn? I thought he was canceled. Now he's got one of the best jobs in Hollywood, being in charge of the DC universe. All right, let's see what James Gunn has to say. We'll learn this. We'll learn this together. Here's an announcement from DC.
So as many of you know, hey everybody, I'm James Gunn. I'm the co-CEO of DC Studios. So as many of you know, DC has been disconnected in film and television for a long time. And it's one of, our jobs, mine and Peter's, is to come in and make sure the DCU is connected in film, television, gaming, and animation. That the characters are consistent, played by the same actors, and it works within one story. And if something is outside of that, like Matt Reeves' Batman or Todd Phillips' Joker or Teen Titans Go, that it is clearly labeled as DC Elseworlds, outside of the mainstream DCU continuity. Now, Peter and I have gotten pretty lucky in terms of the 4 projects that are coming out over the next year. First, we have Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Shazam has always been off kind of in his own part of the DCU, so he connects very well. That moves directly into The Flash, a fantastic movie that I really love that resets the entire DC universe. Then to move into Blue Beetle, a fantastic film about a kid who's a marvelous part of the DCU, and then into Aquaman 2, which leads directly into our next few projects, which I'm going to tell you about now. So Peter and I, along with a group of very talented writers, have started to map out an 8 to 10 year plan of what DC Studios will be in film, television and
Superman.
gaming.
Come on.
This first chapter is called Gods and Monsters. Now, what I'm about to tell you, is a part of the first chapter. It's not the entire first chapter. The first project is Creature Commandos.
I don't see Superman.
Creature Commandos is an animated series. I've written all the episodes. Something we're going to do that's a little bit different at DC is we're going to have characters move into animation, out of animation, usually having the same actor play their voice as who plays them in live action. The next project up is Waller. This is a story of Amanda Waller, played by Viola Davis.
Hey.
Viola Davis is going to team up with members of Team Peacemaker, and this is a story that's been created by Crystal Henry, who did Watchmen, and Jeremy Carver, who created the Doom Patrol. It is a fantastic story that's out of this world, and I can't wait for people to see it. Okay, next up is the big one, the true beginning of the DCU. This is called Superman Legacy. This is being written by me. I'm in the middle of it. I'm having a great time doing it. And Superman will be released into theaters July 11th, 2025. Okay, the next thing is a big premiere HBO television series called Lanterns. This is a story of a couple of Green Lanterns, John Stewart and Hal Jordan, and we have a few other Lanterns peppered in there, but this is really a terrestrial-based TV show, which is almost like True Detective with a couple of Green Lanterns who are space cops watching over Precinct Earth. In it, they discover a terrifying mystery that ties into our larger story of the DCU. Next is a big movie called The Authority. The Authority is a passion project of mine. It's based on the marvelous Wildstorm characters we are now bringing into the DCU and will interact with all of our primary DCU characters. The Authority are a group of superheroes who think the world is broken and they want to fix it by any means necessary. I think it's a very different look at
how many different superhero gangs are there out there? What was the one just last year with Angelina Jolie? That was like a whole. That's not the Justice League, or how many
superheroes? We're doing a television series called Paradise Lost. Paradise Lost is the story of Paradise Island, usually known as Themyscira, which is the birthplace of Wonder Woman. It's almost like Game of Thrones with Westeros, but with all of the inhabitants of Paradise Island. The introduction of the DCU's Batman is The Brave and the Bold. The Brave and the Bold is the story of Batman and his actual son, Damian Wayne. This is based on Grant Morrison's great comic book run. Damian Wayne is my favorite Robin. He's a little assassin who Batman tries to get in line, and so this is the story of the two of them and the beginning of sort of the Bat family in the DCU. Next up is a TV series called Booster Gold. Booster Gold is one of comics' really popular cult heroes. He is a fascinating guy. He's a loser from the future who uses future technology to come back to present day and become a superhero so that people will love him. It is basically the superhero story of imposter syndrome on an HBO Max series. One of my favorite comic book series from last year was Tom King's run on Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. And so we're going to turn that into a big science fiction epic film. Now, Superman is a guy who was sent to Earth and raised by loving parents, whereas Supergirl in this story, she is a character who was raised on a chunk of Krypton. She watched everybody around her perish in some terrible way, so she's a much more jaded character. And that brings me to Swamp Thing, the last thing we're going to talk about, a very dark horror story in the origins of the monster who is Swamp Thing. And although it's totally outside of the rest of the DCU, it will still feed into the rest of the stories. Anyway, those are the stories that I can tell you about right now. I've loved the DC characters since I was a child.
Me too.
They're incredibly important to me. I knew that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to do something very different. One of the things that's very important for me in all of these movies and TV series is that the director's vision and the vision of the writers and all of the creators is unique and something special. Storytelling is always king. That's all that matters to us. And I want to be true to those stories. I want to be true to you guys and really give you something different than you've ever seen before. Anyway, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you watching. I hope this was exciting for you because it's really exciting for me. And I can't wait to start to dive into these stories with you guys on this grand adventure. Thank you so much.
Wow. All right. Very good. So that's what people have been buzzing about all morning. it's an age thing. It's an age thing. He's a little bit older than I am, but for my generation, DC was the name brand. They were the big one for my generation. And then Marvel was just like sort of, oh yeah, they're not quite DC. They're not quite. It's only been within the last 15 years that since the onslaught of the Avenger movies that Marvel movies were even a thing. The biggest superhero movies of all time up until about 2010 were DC films. Whether we're talking about the Superman movies of the 70s, the Batman franchise that began. Look, every time a Batman movie came out, it was the world stopped. Every single Batman movie was a huge open. Everybody was excited. And then it sort of fell apart. And then Marvel got their shit together. And all of a sudden, Marvel started making absolutely incredible superhero movies. And I love Marvel movies. I think they're wonderful. But I've always sort of rooted for, come on, get your shit together, DC. You've got the two most compelling characters in all of superhero-dom in Batman and Superman. And how are you shitting the bed so regularly with Batman and Superman? All right, so there you go. That's why DC Studios is trending. Let's see, what else do we have? Forget it. Now everything, Swamp Thing is trending, Supergirl is trending, DCEU is trending. There's nothing we can talk about here. There's that. Lanterns is trending. Okay, so that's going to be a problem because for the next 5 hours, it's just going to be a bunch of DC nerds. All right, that's it. We're going to end the show here. We'll be back tonight at 9 o'clock. Tip the show if you can, folks, please. It's the end of the month. If you can help out the show, we sure would appreciate it. You got the Venmo right there. You got the Cash App right there. You can drop a little something into either of those. Treat me like I'm your bartender. Treat me like I'm your, car parker. Valet, stupid. Thank you, schizophrenic me. That's right. Help out the show with a little bit of tip. Your generosity goes a very long way. We do need to help this month, so if you can, you will. Thank you to everybody who has. And if you can't, I don't care. I mean, I care. I wish everybody was in a position where they could help. If you can't help, that's fine. You can share the show. You can promote the show. When you see it come across your timeline, just hit forward. Pass it forward. Just let's see, get it on as many people's radar as possible. That's a wonderful way for you to help. But if you're one of them rich people, if you're somebody with a little expendable income, you want to drop a couple of bucks into the Cash App or the Venmo, that would surely be appreciated. We'll see you in a few hours. Stay off the streets. I'm going to go out. I'm going to put on some socks and some shoes. I'm going to go see what the streets are like. I mean, I'm not going to drive. I'm going to walk. I'm going to go see oh my God. I'm sure it's just, I'm looking forward to it. Haven't been out. Oh, do you know what happened to me today? You guys, check this out. So normally I wake up without an alarm clock, normally between 8:15 and 8:30. And that's because the dog who lives in the backyard, basically she roams the backyard. She loves to be in the backyard. But every night around midnight or so, the dog comes to my back door and starts barking. And I got to let her in. And I don't know why it's just going to the house. So I let her in and she sleeps right by the back door. Sometimes she comes in the bedroom. Like last night she was cold. And when I woke up this morning, she was sleeping in the bed, which is part of the story that I'm telling you. She normally sleeps on the floor right next to the back door. And at around 8:15 every morning, she wants to go outside. That's fine. She's a dog. So I get up every morning at 8:15 and I let her outside. Didn't happen today. Today I slept till 10:30. I slept right through everything. Why? Because the dog wasn't by the back door. The dog had somehow in the middle of the night come into my bedroom and crawled under the blankets and was buried under a bunch of... This dog has very thin hair. She's a Louisiana swamp dog. She doesn't know from this weather. She doesn't like the snow. She doesn't know why it's suddenly so cold. And for the first time ever, she actually buried herself. She slept till like that. I woke up first. Something weird is happening with the environment outside when the dog just decides, yeah, I'm just going to sleep in today. Anyway, that was my day, as I got a late start today. Truth be told, I woke up at like 7:15 to go to the bathroom. And I woke up and I went to the bathroom and I looked outside and I saw like the ice and the snow. And That feeling when you're like, I'm just going to climb back into bed. I'm going to climb back into my warm bed. I'm going to cover these blankets. Is it snowing right now? All right, we got some flurries. They're not flurries. It's more like a sleet that we're getting. Very, very little. That's supposed to from the comfort nest. I got nothing else. I'm just putting it off. Watch documentary now. Watch Any Given Saturday. It's 20 minutes. It's a half-hour thing without commercials. So it's like 22 minutes. You can rip through all the documentary nows if you haven't seen them. We were talking about it's Bobby Moynihan's birthday. And in the documentary now episode, Any Given Saturday, which is a parody of the pro bowling documentary, Any Given Saturday, Bobby Moynihan just throws down one of the greatest performances. And just if you've never heard of documentary now and you want to laugh on this cold, awful day, oh, it's so funny. Bill Hader, Fred Armisen. Documentary now. It's on Netflix. Start out with Any Given Saturday. All right, folks. Tip the show if you can. I've mentioned that. See you at 9. Love you all. Be well. Bye.